Hello, chat. How's it going? What is happening in chat right now? What is going on in this very moment today? What is happening right now? Good morning. I'm sleepy. I'm only 12 minutes late though. Aren't you proud of me? Ugh, I might wear the glasses just to cover my massive eye bags right now. Look how that perfectly hid them. Fuck. I'm so sleepy. But yeah, hi, hello. Yeah. Okay, so let me pull shit up and then we're gonna jump into this, alright? So, we are gonna do a few things today. One of them is that we're gonna draw some more characters. Let me zoom out here. Okay, so there. Nice. Perfect. I love when my stream setup just works. Well, now we're all awake and suffering together. So, yeah. Okay, so we're working on dating some stuff today. Had to think if I was saying the correct thing, because I was like, is that correct, or am I thinking of Teddy Chan? I've been no-lifing Teddy Chan stuff. I'm just trying to get it out. So, anyway. Oh god, Lemon, you might be right. Maybe that's the trade-off. I have to sacrifice my body for stream to operate correctly, and I have no tech issues. Hopefully not. True. Okay, so we have this set up. I think I want to make one of these for him and her, because I've already finished their drawings. And now that we have like a template, more or less, actually we should finish this. There's a few things left that we have to finish on this. So first off, we'll finish this, which we just need to do like her quote. We need to figure out what's going down there, and then that. And then that's all we gotta do, really. And then this should be done. Also, I created brushes. I'll just go into this. Created brushes for all of the symbols we'll be using in the game so far. So, yeah. Hi, Mr. Nuggets. Yoink. Mr. Keaton. Hey, baby. Look at him. He good baby. He good fluffy baby. Are you being a fluffy baby today? You good baby? Is it kitten? Hey, baby. I love you, sir. Boop. Free kitten. My best friend, kitten. Look. We have a friend. Kitten friend. Sorry, Popos. I wish you could perch up here, but I think you'd get scared. I love you, Popos. She's over on the ground like, what is the kitty doing? There, now you can see both of them. No, he's been sweet kitten. He kind of just almost choked on one of his toys, so we had to take that away. But other than that, doing good. All right. Okay, so yeah, so we're gonna do that. I'm gonna do this first. Then we're gonna do, then we're gonna do one for him. And then her. And then I wanna, if we have time, I don't know how much time we'll have. I wanna color. I wanna work on, I wanna work on rendering that one and this one. Because I finally figured out what the new colors are gonna be there. This has been my favorite thing to do. I've been adding this to my sketches, is sketching out the color placement as well. It's like so much nicer to mess around with color placement when I'm in the sketch form than when I'm going to fully render it. So then I can, yeah, it's an important added step to my process now. Especially when I'm trying to rework a design. Can map it out a little bit. So I added blue to hers, and then I added, goodbye sir. I added some more, I added some orange, and then like dark purple highlights, because I felt like that, or low lights, because I felt like that would like break it up a bit and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, it's nice. I like it. So I did it with this one too. Although this one I didn't fully do. It's just kind of a sketch. Whatever. Not the point. Anyway. I definitely like doing that now. It's good. I still have a few left to do, obviously, but we'll get to those later. I want to get our main characters figured out first. That's a good question. I guess we'll figure out, we'll put a title on the cover when we render it. Okay, let's figure this out. I'll redraw that later. I've just been lazy about it. It just takes too much work right now. I've just been no-lifing Teddy. One of those things. I wish I could just no-life it more this weekend, but anyway. It's my OCD talking. All I want to do is work on that project. And I've wanted to work on it for like weeks now. And I've been working on it for weeks now. And the inspiration hasn't gone away. And it's kind of been fucking me up because like I have other stuff I need to do. But like my inspiration is drawing in one direction and it's towards drawing. And that's, oh god damn it. So annoying. So thankfully I've been able to do a bit of it on stream, but like, motherfucker. Anyway, let's pull up our layout here. Okay. Let's see. I guess okay, so for this, we're gonna have to come up with some like interactions, I think, that fall into this category. For this, like, the thing is, some of these are gonna be locked. But like, we can still do it, so we'll do both. Like, these two will be locked at first. Hey, yo. Hello. Yep, I feel you there. It's very annoying. Okay. Yeah, this layer works. I'll use this layer. Haha. There's my symbols. Okay. So we'll do a layer where it's, actually we'll just make this a new layer because that was fairly in the middle. Will it snap to the center? No, it will not. But I can eyeball it. It's okay. Why are we lagging? How many? I need a new fucking iPad so bad, you guys. That's why. We're using up all of our layers. Oops, it's fine. Then we'll do this color for this. That looks about center. Okay, cool. So, yeah, okay, so now I need to make it higher. There. Okay. Shoot, which should we tackle first? I'm doing good. I'm sleepy as fuck, but this is gonna help me wake up. So it's not the worst. I wish that we could listen to music on here, but we can't. Alright, should we listen to something, chat? We can listen. Ow. We can listen to something. Oh yeah, we could see there is. We could. How? Fuck. Which one did we leave off on? Do we remember? Do we remember which one we left off on? Because she posted one yesterday. Okay, let me look. Oh god, okay, so we've watched... Okay, we watched the tried to kick husband out of court. We watched Cassie's questioning, I think, right? Did we watch the Tootsie Roll one? Have we seen the Tootsie Roll one? I know, right? That's smart. I should do that. All right. I think Tootsie Roll is where we left off. Oh my god, okay. Mind you. Oh, Kitan. Kitan! Here comes the Kitan. Sorry. No, it's not for you. It's for baby Kitan. Alright, here he comes. He's so excited, Kitan. The dogs, they're like, what the fuck? Yeah, you don't get fed right now. The kitty has a smaller stomach. He needs to have more frequent meals. The way that he runs from the entire house is so funny. It's so cute. Eat him. Little kitten shake. It's so fucking cute. Ah, baby. Okay, anyway. So, we have the Tootsie Roll one, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more 2-hour videos. The amount of effort she's putting into this fucking case is crazy. Anyway, let's support her. Watch along with me so that she gets a lot of views and it pisses off Diddy. Because he's definitely watching these. Oh wow. The first one has 7.4 million views on it. Let's go. Exactly. So watch along. Watch along, chat. I will put the video tiny on the screen, but watch with us. All right. Let me get you a link. Here you go. I'm gonna put it in the description too. I know, I don't understand how people don't like her. I think it must be jealousy and or they like Diddy. That's the only explanations I can think of. Jealousy, if you agree with her, and like if you agree with her, then it has to be jealousy that you're not the one in that position. And then if you disagree with her, then you just like Diddy and your brain isn't functioning anyway, so what can we do about that? You know, not much. Can't do much about that one. All right, let me get it pulled up here. Okay. Okay, let me just... It's like the wrong size a little bit. There we go. My window size was different. R&R. All right. So. Oh my god, happy birthday to her. Okay. Play with me, chat. Do you guys have it pulled up? Do you guys have it ready? Yeah, I could see that, but yeah, if you watch any of her videos, it's pretty obviously she's doing her best to cover it as respectfully as possible, and like, bro, if I got murdered, I want her to cover it. So if I ever get murdered, chat, spam her. Spam her this clip that I want her to cover my death. All right, thank you. So let's watch together. All right, 3, 2, 1, play.
Bada bing, bada
Let
boom.
me know how the volume is
There's
and
a few
everything.
things in the courtroom that we do not have access to. Well, I would say there's a lot of things.
I should put a little...
Clearly, there's the obvious ones. But there's a few things that keep me up at night. I lay in bed and I think about if I could be a fly on that wall, if I could be a fly on that piece of paper. The first being, I want to know what kind of notes the Combs sons are passing on a daily basis. Every time they're in court these days, they're passing a lot of notes. I don't know what's in them. Sometimes they produce giggles from each other. Sometimes they're shaking their heads, responding to each other's notes. I'm very curious about those notes. Another person's notes I'm curious about is, the other day there were two girls in the public section of the courtroom. So they came in with the public, and they were sitting in the two pews of the very back behind the defendant, Sean Combs. And there are moments where after a recess, after a break, after lunch, we'll all walk into the courtroom at varying times. And oftentimes, there's not a lot of people in there yet, especially if you don't use the restroom during a break. Well, we see them. There's two girls. One of them has white nail polish on, distinct white nail polish. And they both hold up the Illuminati sign towards the defendant, Sean Combs. He's turning back. He sees the Illuminati signs, like pure triangles.
Like in front of their face?
Like at their chest. So they're not holding it up in the air, but they're like holding it in front of their chest.
What are we doing right now?
And we see him put his hand on his fist on his chest and mouth, "Thank you," which is something that he does for friends and family. So perhaps he thought these were two fans that showed up in support of him. I want to know what those girls are writing in their notes.
Does it look like he knows them, or
no? And then the last thing that I really want to know is, I want to know what's inside this.
What should her introduction quote
notebook.
be?
Every morning we go to the courtroom. Defendant Sean Combs comes in. He's got this accordion file where he has all of his little court documents, court papers, and every single morning he pulls out this spiral neon blue, highlighter blue notebook. And at the very front, in capital letters, looks like it's written in Sharpie, like thick, bold letters. It reads, "Truth." And every day after court, he puts it back in his little accordion file. It's almost like he's tucking it into bed. He taps the sides of it, making sure it's all nice and comfy in there. And I just want to know,
let's go look at her
anything in that little notebook
personality
about
info.
Tootsie Rolls. The exact dimensions are 1 to 1.5 inches in length. It's like a Tootsie Roll. It's a chocolate piece of candy. It's about 1/2 inch in diameter. That's the typical size. If you don't have a Tootsie Roll conveniently near you, it is approximately maybe about like half of an adult pinky finger. I know,
Jeff, who's same.
This is all from Jane Doe's perspective as detailed in a newly filed lawsuit against Sean Combs by Jane Doe. So this lawsuit drops. It's a civil lawsuit by Jane Doe against Sean Combs, and this drops May 14th of 2025.
Her love language is acts of service.
After opening statements. This is in the midst
so
of
maybe she asks the main character to do her a favor.
Civil lawsuit filed. Now, this is a civil lawsuit. Just because it's a lawsuit doesn't mean it's necessarily factual. This could be completely true, partly true, or just flat out not true. But as detailed in Jane Doe's lawsuit, she states, no, it all starts in an elevator. She's in one of those high-rise office building elevators in Manhattan with 3 of her friends.
Also, just like her storytelling is so captivating. I think that's the other thing that's good.
Any chance you guys want to come to a party?
And I think that's why it's nice that she's actually in the courtroom, because like she's able to like portray the way that they talk really well.
With Sean Combs, who will tell her you're very
like how they deliver different parts of the testimony.
Now,
where you're not going to get that from a lot of other
odd experiences that she has, like being in a black SUV with a bunch of his bodyguards, like more bodyguards than there are people that they're protecting. And Sean Combs would allegedly try to kiss her. She didn't really like it, but every time he would do stuff like this, afterwards, when she clearly signaled that she did not want this, he would overload her with niceness, and she would feel like, okay, maybe that I was thinking too deep into it, and then she would agree to meet up with him once more. Until the very last time she sees Sean Combs. Now, this is at a party. Sean Combs allegedly starts smoking
maybe she like
marijuana,
asks you to tie her shoe
back
or
into
something.
Jane Doe's face, as well as her friend's face. And after about 40 minutes, Jane's friend keeps asking her, do you feel weird? Because I feel weird.
Okay, this is her
Jane
other
says,
stuff.
I do notice that my legs and arms are really weak, in the sense of like when I'm trying to walk down the stairs, I need to hold onto the banister And so both Jane and her friend are talking to each other that neither of them have ever felt like this. They're like, this is really bizarre. I mean, I get that maybe we're tired, but this isn't even just that. Because Jane feels so weird, they end up leaving the entire party with Sean Combs, and Jane states that she's just asking him, can you please take me home? I don't feel good right now. He keeps trying to detour back to his Upper East Side apartment. He's like, I just need to grab
Acts
something.
of service is her love language, so it's what she likes to receive. She likes people doing things for her.
Grabs Jane by the hand, and she details in her lawsuit, he says, come with me real quick. Jane is being dragged, and he says, quote, I want to show you my bedroom. This is what she's alleging. Sean Combs, according to that lawsuit, locks the door behind her to his bedroom, throws her onto the bed, grabs her by the neck, and screams at her, I'm going to suck the life out of you.
Which, like,
the lawsuit reads, quote, defendant Combs released plaintiff Jane Doe's neck and then held her arm down while using his other hand to swiftly unbuckle his belt and pants before pulling out his bare-skinned private parts, which appeared to be the length and girth of a large Tootsie Roll.
There we go.
The plaintiff went the extra mile to include a picture of a Tootsie Roll for reference, and with the comment that said, she thought his penis was an itty-bitty ditty. The lawsuit alleges that Sean Combs proceeded to essay her after that. Now, I will note that this document has not yet been reviewed by the county clerk, but this lawsuit is filed, again, May 14th, 2025.
I love that she got that dig in there. It's so good.
The opening statements in the federal court case against Sean Combs, which begs the question, how many more people are going to come out in court to testify against Diddy? Because Cassie also filed a civil lawsuit and she testified. And now with this episode,
oh my God, right, Ellie? Like the way that she's able to tell the story of like a case I've heard a million times by other people, but the way that she structures her storytelling is so good.
And how all of this connects Sean Combs to Michael B. Jordan, therefore Lori Harvey, and ultimately, as the internet has become the most intrigued by, this is Sean Combs' connection to Steve Harvey.
Oh my God, I forgot about the Steve Harvey shit. It's so weird. Oh my God, it's so weird. Yeah. Right. It's so funny. Like, so his dick is the size of a Tootsie Roll is now official court record.
Sponsors who have made it possible for Rotten Mango to support the Joyful Heart Foundation. They are working to transform society's response to SADV and CA.
Okay.
This episode's partnerships have also made it possible to support Rotten Mango's growing team. And we would also like to thank you guys for your continued support. As always, full show notes are available at RottenMangoPodcast.com. A few disclaimers. There are themes of DVSA and sex trafficking in today's episode. Please watch with caution if these are sensitive topics to you, and this one's going to be a little bit heavier. Many of the quotes and statements included have been shortened and condensed and or combined for brevity. Now, there are a lot of parts where I'm going to be reading like directly off the transcript, but I want to convey to you the exact, or at least try to convey to you, do my best to convey to you the tone and the delivery in which the transcript and these words were said in the courtroom. So my researchers and I have been in the courtroom pretty much every single day. Like at least one of us has been in there every single day since the trial has started, if not two of us. And so when we read the transcript at the end of the day, it's hard to get a gauge of how words are delivered and the impact that it might have on the jury. So we're going to try to deliver at least the pacing, at least some of the tone that is how we perceived it in the courtroom. Any descriptions or observations regarding Mr. Combs, his legal team, the court, and or the public during the trial are personally noted by myself or my two researchers who are present in the courtroom. They should not be used as a definitive source to determine guilt or innocence. In fact, Sean Combs is innocent until proven guilty, and that burden lies on the government. So with that being said, let's get started. There are microphones placed strategically all around the courtroom. The design is to be capture spoken words, all spoken words during the proceedings. There are microphones mounted on the ceilings, even where there are places where people aren't really supposed to talk, like the pews. Nobody in the gallery is really supposed to be saying anything. Only the front of the room, you're supposed to talk. But there's microphones everywhere. There's directional microphones on the desks of the defense, the prosecutors, the court staff. A few microphones are placed strategically on the exact defense table that Sean Combs is sitting on. And sometimes, when the microphone is placed and pointed towards Sean Combs, and let's say
I don't know if
Brian
it's
Steele,
more
who's
than
on the
both of
left
them being
him,
into baby oil,
Combs
but the
will
baby
literally
oil connection's
grab
fucking
the
weird,
mic
though, isn't
and
it?
point it directly at the ceiling. So it's like a
Hey,
long,
yo. How's it
thin,
going?
moldable black wire with
Oh
a
my god,
little
it's
mic at the
so
top.
weird,
And he will
dude.
point it so that
Like-
it's erect and straight up towards the ceiling.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he's pretty intentional about it. So it's
They
nowhere
both
near
really
his
like
mouth, and
baby
the court
oil.
stenographer will not be graced with hearing his little whispers in court.
I have
When you
never
see this
heard of the
microphone,
baby
you
oil
know,
thing
what does
before,
that
like
look
in
like?
any
They look kind of like smoke
context.
detectors.
But they're microphones.
So
Yeah.
it's still
did you find
confusing
out
as
they're
fuck to
microphones?
me.
Yeah, I eavesdrop a lot in court.
Uh-huh.
I think a lot of people do. So it was mentioned by people who
You know
work in
what?
the
I'm
courtroom.
gonna look this up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Because
like,
this
who's
is-
listening to
This
court?
this question's
court
been
reporter,
driving
the
me crazy about this
stenographer,
case. So
has
let me look
these,
this up
like,
because I
headphones
can
that
just
amplify
Google
all the
this
spoken words
and ask
from
Reddit.
all of the
Well, I'm not gonna ask Reddit, but I'm sure someone has asked
multidirectional
Reddit.
microphones inside the courtroom.
So the mic is for them to hear only.
Yes.
Wow.
And then they will do the transcript in real time.
Oh.
And then actually, okay, speaking of, in case this is information that might come up later, so as the stenographer is, I guess, doing the transcript in real time, everyone that works in the court, so the defense table, the prosecutors, they have a live feed of all the words that are being spoken. They have a live feed of the transcript.
Oh, the transcript.
Yes.
Got it. Not the thing that you guys are talking
No,
about in the
no.
back. Okay.
But that transcript for the public and the press, it doesn't, you don't get it live.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. Wow.
Now, Officer Riz, the man who controls the courtroom, literally my boss for this entire trial, he is making, it's a very interesting day on Friday. I think anytime it's about to be the weekend, court seems to be in a better mood. He's making sure the public section knows, hey, no talking in the courtroom. He literally tells us, if you want to talk, go outside and tell your 122 followers. And that gets a really good giggle out of every single person, including the people with 122 followers. It was a good joke. Now, outside the courthouse, everyone has just been live streaming. It has been very intense. The press pews don't have as much of a problem with the not talking rule. Our problem seems to be sneaking caffeine into the courtroom. That's what I see press get in the most trouble for. Another thing I never really took into consideration, there are absolutely no glass bottles allowed in the courtroom because they could be used as projectiles. Which makes absolute sense.
I feel like that's a valid
I just really
rule,
never
though.
gave it much thought until
When
one
I've
of
had
our
to do
researchers
jury
is
duty, they
chugging
wouldn't
coffee
let
from
you
a
have
glass bottle
anything
outside the
other than a
courtroom because
plastic
it's just
water
not allowed.
bottle.
Now, the defense,
And
they're
even that
sitting
you
in
couldn't
normal
have,
spot.
I'm pretty
and
sure.
one person we haven't really talked
All you could
in
have was a
depth about
book.
is Raspberry Air. That's what we call him. He looks like he might be the youngest guy
So
on the
boring.
defense team.
Raspberry Air. What
Yes.
does that mean?
His name is Jason Driscoll, and we call him Raspberry Air because we know nothing about this man. The only thing that we could find out about this guy is he's pretty young. He's an associate from Alexandra Shapiro's law firm, and he's sitting at the big boys table. And we don't exactly know what he's doing yet, but he seems heavily involved. So we don't know if he's like a dark horse that's going to come out swinging. So we have created this whole plot in our heads where he is secretly part of the Driscoll family, the massive berry farmers. So we call him the Raspberry Air. And every day, Raspberry Air is getting a bit more involved and a bit busier and a bit more interactive with Sean Combs. So it's becoming a daily mystery for the RM team of like, okay, what's his role going to be throughout the rest of this trial? Combs walks in, and some days he's even more unassuming. Honestly, he is less impactful every day that he walks in. There have been at least 2 days where the press and the public are seated first. He's escorted into the courtroom, and since the judge is not on the bench, we are allowed to talk. Everybody's chit-chatting, everybody's like giggling at Officer Riz's jokes, and by the time people look up, Sean Combs is already in his chair and nobody's even heard of that
Okay,
thing.
it's a
Nobody
Gen
even
X thing.
It seems like at this point, everyone just wants to get a general vibe of his energy levels
It's a
and
Gen
what color
X
sweater
thing.
he's wearing. But when he walks
Okay.
in, there's even less
The
presence.
streets are
every
saying
single
it's a
day.
Gen X
like,
thing.
Officer Riz has more star power than him. So it's been very interesting.
And then
Because,
his
like, I
family
feel like
members
anyone
are
younger is
also
just going to use
guilty,
real
right?
lube and coconut oil. Those
The
are
pews starting to get
superior in
sparse.
every
so the rows reserved
aspect.
for Combs'
So this
family
has
and
always
friends, he has
bothered
2
me.
rows. So none of his family can
It's
sit in the
always
pews
pissed me
directly
off.
behind him.
'Cause it's confusion.
safety hazard. They're reserved for government workers only. Safety concern. But the second pew behind him is usually filled with all of
Oh
his
yeah, no,
family.
I never actually
Third
get selected
pew
for
is usually
jury
filled with
duty
all of his friends,
because
representatives,
look at me.
whoever's on his approved
They're not
list.
gonna-
So you have these 2 rows that
They're
were
not
in
gonna
the
let me
beginning
on
of
the
the
jury.
trial completely jam-packed. The recent days,
Unfortunately,
you
I've
could fully
tried.
lay down in the pew and rest your head if you so wished. I mean, you can't, but you could. If
I
you
guess I
really
just
wanted
look
to.
too opinionated.
I do think that all of his kids went back to California for the twins graduating high school as well as prom. Maybe they're still there. The two sons did eventually fly back. It's been a thing, but everybody in that courtroom, it could be because of this.
That's rough.
Everybody
All
in that courtroom
month.
seems sick. Even Sean Combs is asking his attorney for a tissue. He's like honking
What the
his
hell?
nose throughout the day. Mark Agnifilo will
Dude,
take
yeah.
up crumpled up
Sounds
tissues
fun.
and
One of the-
Post-its and, like, do
one of
little
the
air
cases was like
basketballs
a-
into the wastebasket before the judge
Someone
comes
brought
in.
a gun
Seems
to
like
like
people
a
having,
elementary
in a very
school.
light
It was
mood.
like a parent brought a gun to an elementary school. They were like a big open carry
Some
person,
days
and
there's
it was
so
like a
much
big deal.
tension and it feels so high stakes. And then some days you walk in and the attorneys are doing air balls with tissue paper into the wastebasket and they're giggling and cackling and it's confusing and it's
It would've
very
been
weird because I
interesting.
think you walk in and you know the subject matter at hand. You
I'd
know
be on there
the
like
types of
Queen
crimes
taking
that he's accused
tons
of
of
doing.
notes.
And then everyone is like interactive in like a normal human way, even the prosecutors, and it feels
know.
kind of strange. It feels very jolting, I will say. They're doing air basketballs into the wastebasket. He's got impeccable aim, but the court officers, they're looking at him like, sir, please be a serious person. They're like the most serious people. They're the two court officers
True.
that escort Sean Combs to the bathroom. I don't think I've seen either one of them really ever smile.
Really?
Yeah. And it's interesting that the energy seems so light, considering the thing that we've noticed is it appears that when there is someone testifying that is not so closely related to Sean Combs, the defense and the defendant typically are in lighter spirits. If it's like a
Okay.
Homeland Security agent that's testifying, they might not be as
Let
tightly
me think.
wound.
Let me think. Oh,
But let's
shit.
say it's Cassie or it's Don Richard, someone that has worked with Sean Combs for decades, somebody that is filing a civil lawsuit against Sean Combs, someone that has very interpersonal relationships with the defendant. Typically, I don't see them this relaxed.
But you're saying Don Richard is about to come out.
Yes,
So why are they so relaxed?
we don't know.
Oh.
Don Richard walks in. She was wearing a three-piece suit with a pinstripe long winter coat. It looks like perfectly tailored. It looks like somebody tailored it onto her body. It's so well fitted. She walks in with 4 attorneys. They trail in and they sit directly in front of us, like literally in the row in front of us where Cassie's attorney, her husband, her brother, and cousin had sat. So that's like the row reserved for them. Now, Dawn, her face, stone cold. She starts walking up towards the witness stand. Her eyes are trained to the front. She looks somber. That's the word that I kept writing on my notes. Others say that she looks like she's ready for war, but it seems maybe the best way to describe it is like a combination of both. Like you're ready for war, and maybe you're not necessarily motivated and riled up like propaganda. You just feel like this is life, this is war. And the way that Sean Combs is sitting, honestly, he looks like a guest on Shark Tank. He leans back against his chair. His chair is pulled all the way back away from the table. His legs are crossed and his hands are in his lap. He looks like he's sitting there while there are people coming up to the witness stand to audition for him. That, it feels like Making the Band, his reality show where he finds artistic talent and creates bands out of them. That is what it feels like. Don Richard is asked to point out Sean Combs in the courtroom. Usually the prosecutors will say, can you identify him by a piece of clothing? But before they can even get those words out, Don Richard lifts her right arm and points directly at Sean Combs. The
Bye.
whole courtroom,
Have fun.
you hear a lot of people shuffling in this moment, but not because they're doing other things. They're literally like, this is what it feels like. They're literally trying to look at what the hell is going on because it's a very tense moment. At no point has anyone physically pointed at him. A lot of the times the witnesses will kind of quick glance and then say, he's the one in the gray sweater. But this is like, she's looking and she's pointing. And it's so tense. It feels like she's holding up her hand for a century. It's probably no more than a few
Clove?
seconds.
What the
if even
heck?
that. To the point where maybe Sean Combs feels awkward because he goes to lift up.
Anyway,
both
so
of
it's an
his
old
hands.
person thing to use baby oil,
Almost
apparently.
in a sarcastic, you got me. Like his elbows are bent at 90 degrees and his hands are near his face, palms out.
That's interesting.
It's a very
13.
tense, odd moment. And when these types of tense, odd moments happen, typically people in the courtroom will try to chuckle. Not because it's really funny, but because it's so tense in there. I think everyone's just trying to find a way to release some anxiety. But at this point, nobody's laughing. the whole thing is just strange. U.S. Attorney Steiner is the one that's going to be
How do we
handling the direct
how do we feel about her
examination.
quote
So during the
there?
direct examination, Steiner
Is
is
that
asking
good?
Dawn Richard a bunch of questions about just like establishing how she knows Sean Combs. The first thing that prosecutors do is they try to establish Dawn Richard's connection to Sean Combs. Dawn Richards was signed with Bad Boy Records, which is founded by Sean Combs from 2004 to 2011. She was part of this massive girl group, Danity Kane. We've talked about them during our original
I used to love
Diddy
Danity
series.
Kane.
And then later, she was signed to another group called Diddy Dirty Money.
Well,
Diddy
she
Dirty Money was
is-
literally just Sean Combs, Diddy,
She is a
Dawn
dom,
Richards,
so that
and a
checks
woman
out.
named Kalina Harper, another artist. Now, I will say Danity Kane was probably the more well-known of the two groups. The first album that they ever released, they debuted at like #1 on the Billboard charts.
Whoa.
Many members of Danity Kane have come forward to talk about Sean Combs, with a few of them participating in the HBO documentary, The Fall of Diddy. D. Woods, for example, says in that HBO doc, from the outside, he was a mogul. He was this guy who could make your dreams come true, but there was this other side of him who might not be so true. I remember
Hey,
this one time
being
when I
biased
had the
'cause
cameras
horny is
there. So
actually
they were
very
part of
helpful in this
reality show
situation,
called
so-
Making a Band, and it's exactly what you imagine it to be, a reality
That
show
works
of all
out.
of Sean Combs' different bands, like girl groups, guy groups, and they're all just trying to
Okay.
do all these auditions and trying
Cool.
to market themselves. I
Happy
remember
about
this
that.
one time, he
And we
like
need to
had
figure
the
out what the
cameras
fuck's
there
going
when
on
we were
down
like
here.
trying on clothes so he could watch us. He's going to point this little camera at us for Diddy so he can judge our appearance. I called it like Jedi mind tricks. This happened so early on. He was going one by one, just like critiquing our style. And when he got to me, it wasn't about the clothes. In the reality show, he would ask D. Woods, "What's your stomach looking like? Are you still a little thick?"
Which is like, what the fuck?
She's 20, 21 at this point. She says, I'm working out, I'm running, I always feel thick next to these skinny girls. Yeah,
To
you're
be
like a
fair,
burger
given the
away."
time period, that's kind of to be expected,
She
unfortunately.
said, I started questioning my faith, like, why did I put this on myself?
So
and I haven't
annoying.
been able to express
And
any
we've
of that.
come back
and
to
without
it.
the world victim blaming and shaming me and telling me I just need to be grateful because he gave me an opportunity. Aubrey O'Day, a former member of Danity Kane, has also been probably the most outspoken about her Danity Kane days. D. Wood says about Aubrey, I remember Aubrey sharing with me that he had sent her all of these inappropriate
Let me just
pictures.
remind
I
everyone
saw
what
a
our
lot of
symbols
the
are
things that
here.
He would email her, very sexual
Okay.
in nature, just like very overtly.
Actually, no, I'm just gonna go to the
graphic,
symbol
like
page
things
and show
he
you
wanted
guys.
to do with her, and she was just like, "What do I do?"
So we
I
have
remember
the-
telling
this
her,
is- I just
"Girl, put
made
that in
to
a
lock
folder,
stuff.
Send it to your mom. Save that." When those feelings
This
were
is-
clearly not
this is
mutual
if
between
they're
Aubrey
gay.
O'Day and Sean Combs. Combs allegedly fired Aubrey
Lesbians.
O'Day, humiliated her, calling her promiscuous and raunchy
Straight.
for turning down his advances. Now,
Pan.
another person that has spoken out is Kalina Harper, who
Asexual.
is not part of Danity Kane, but rather Diddy Dirty Money. So
Bisexual.
Diddy Dirty Money, like I said, is Sean Combs,
And then
Dawn
questioning.
Richard, and Kalina Harper. Dawn Richards filed a civil
And then we got the
lawsuit
gender
against Sean
symbols.
Combs in
I had to
2024
fucking-
after Cassie Ventura.
I had to
Kalina
limit
Harper goes
how-
on
there's too
Instagram
many.
to write,
I had to
I acknowledge
choose.
recent lawsuit filed by Dawn Richard in which my name has been
I had to
mentioned
choose
30
groups. I had to
times.
choose like the
While I
biggest,
fully
like,
respect Dawn's
you know,
right to recount her
things that
experiences,
can
I want to emphasize
be
that her
umbrella
account reflects
terms.
her personal
we've got
perspective
trans.
and should not be interpreted
We
as
have
a universal
bi-gender
truth
and
applicable to
intersex,
everyone
'cause
involved. It's important to understand that
I
while I
was
was present
getting
in
this
some
symbol
of
for
the same
both,
professional
so-
settings mentioned, many of the allegations and
We have
incidents
agender,
described in this
we have
lawsuit are not
non-binary,
representative of my experiences,
boy,
and some do
girl.
not align with my own
And
truth.
then we've got
We were not involved in, nor were we aware
our-
of any behavior that could be considered abusive or
horoscopes.
unlawful. Sean Combs will later be accused of paying off Kalina Harper for that very Instagram statement.
What?
Dawn Richard is in her three-piece suit, sitting at the witness stand next to the judge, where she is shown a picture of Cassie.
Okay.
Did you observe an incident between Mr.
Those are all
Combs
of
and
the
Cassie?
those.
Yes, I did. Can you please describe that, what you observed generally? I observed Cassie being attacked. And when you say that Cassie was attacked, who was she attacked by? She was attacked by Sean Combs. Again, at a high level, what did you observe at that attack? And Dawn Richard, her answers are soft-spoken but very firm. He came down the stairs screaming, belligerent, asking where his food was, and proceeded to hit her over the head and then kick her and beat her on the ground in front of us. Where did that incident take place? in his Los Angeles home. Don Richard explains that they were recording for Diddy's.
I feel like her
Dirty Money,
testimony is pretty good. This is what I was saying last time when we did, when we listened to Cassie's. How, like, for,
Don Richard and Kalina Harper.
I think the people who witnessed it, their testimony might come across stronger because they aren't
but she's on the second level in the kitchen, presumably
going
during a
to
break
be
in recording. Don and Kalina go upstairs,
internalizing it as much. They're going to just be able to
Cassie cooking breakfast for dinner.
say it
cooking breakfast
bluntly.
She's boiling eggs. That's what Don Richard
Anyway.
says. So now it's the three women on the second floor. Combs is on the floor above, the very top level. It's a 3-floor home. And Don
we have the club symbols. I had to get creative.
And he was saying,
so I made,
excuse my language,
the Buttery
Don
Club,
Richard says that.
which is
Excuse
the
my
cooking
language.
club.
And he was telling Cassie that she never
Coming
gets
up with the
anything
name
right
was a
with
fucking
his food.
tricky.
And he proceeded to come over
I had
to her,
to
took the skillet
go
with the
look
eggs
at
in it and tried to hit
historical
her over the head
words
with it,
for
and she fell to the
kitchen
ground. Can
and
you describe
cafe.
the skillet? It was
And I
just-
came across
it was a
buttery,
black skillet, just something you would cook
and that was
eggs
the
in,
best
like a
sounding
flat
one
pan.
because I wanted something
Can you
that
describe the
sounded like
material? Like, I don't,
fantasy-ish,
a regular pan, a skillet
but
that
like
you
still
would
grounded
see at
in
any
reality.
store. I don't. You
Anyway.
said that he attempted to hit her.
And
Is that correct?
automatically recognizable for what it
Where did
is.
he attempt to hit her with the skillet?
Hard. Anyway,
Over the head.
Harper's
And
for
you
music,
testified also that Cassie dropped to the ground. Is that
husbandry
correct?
for
She fell
animals,
to the ground. So did the skillet hit her?
archery,
It didn't seem like he hit
botany,
her fully. It seemed like she was anticipating it by going down.
alchemy. These are the
When you
clubs
said that
I've
she
come
dropped
up
to
with
the
so
ground
far. We got
specifically, Can you
6.
describe what she did? She went into a fetal position. You could see she was literally trying to hide her face or her
Dude,
head.
poor Cassie.
Miss Richard, what happened
Ugh.
after Cassie dropped to the ground in the fetal position? He started to punch her and kick her on their body and her head. Then he proceeded
feel like
to take his
it's
arm around her
also
neck and put his hand in her hair and drag
Extra
her
fucked
upstairs to the first
to make
floor.
her friends
What,
witness
if
it.
anything, did you hear from upstairs?
Because one,
Glass breaking
they're
and
in a
yelling.
position where they can't really
Miss
do much to
Richard,
help
How
her.
did you react to seeing
And
her
then
like
2, like they're gonna have like
I was scared
massive
for
amounts
her,
of
and I was
survivor's
scared to do
guilt.
anything in fear of what that might mean for me too. Did you do anything to
fucked.
intervene between Mr. Combs and Cassie? No. Did you call for law enforcement assistance? No. Why not?
It's just a
I've never
normal
seen anything
peacock.
like that before, and I didn't even know what that would mean.
How
I was
is it?
scared of what that
Shut
might mean
up.
for myself. He was punching his girlfriend.
God damn
He was
it.
beating her up in front of us, and I was scared if I intervened or did anything that I might get
Yeah,
punched.
exactly. Like
What,
they.
if anything, were you directed to do the next day? So,
so
Don
fucked.
Richard is explaining. After they see this whole incident, Sean calls them and is like, hey, can you come back into
Goodbye.
the recording studio the next day? The next day, he locks the door behind
okay,
them
so
in
this
that
is
studio.
the rest.
What
We
if
have
anything
sub,
did Mr. Combs tell you
dom,
and Kalina in the locked
switch,
recording studio?
top,
He said
bottom,
that what we
and
saw
then
was
verse.
like a passion and what lovers do in relationships. He said
Those
that
are the
Cassie
symbols
was okay
I've
and that
made
it would
for
be in
you
our best
guys,
interest if we
alright?
didn't say anything. He was trying to take us to the top, and that where he comes from, people go missing if they say things like that.
So,
if people talk, they
she's
go missing.
questioning,
And then he
she's
gave us
versatile, and
flowers.
she is Dom.
So she wasn't the only one being told that story.
Kalina Harper.
She hasn't said anything.
She's basically said that's not my truth in maybe less words.
that. Hey, Munchie.
Interesting.
When
Don't
Mr.
eat that.
Combs told you that people can end up missing, what did
Mr.
you
Kitty.
understand him to be meaning? That people could
Mr.
die?
Small Kita. Mr.
Death?
Kita.
I don't know.
Kita.
It just seemed Cassie.
Keep
Mr.
that.
Agnifilo interrupts. I'm going to object
No.
to this entire line, Your Honor,
That's
and move
illegal.
to strike it.
That's actually
Prosecutor
illegal.
Steiner is confused. Your Honor, this is
That's
the
very
defendant's
illegal.
statements that she is explaining her
Illegal kitty.
understanding of. The judge calls for a
Illegal
sidebar
kita.
because this is getting a little bit. The emotions
Okay, now
are
he's
quickly
being
ramping up.
cute.
It seems like the defense, they're getting very passionate. They're getting riled up. Everybody seems really tense. Even the way that the Prosecutor Steiner, is responding to Agnifilo's objection, it seems very emotionally impactful. Not like they're emotional and unprofessional, but it seems like, what do you mean objection? Like, get out of
So
here.
sleepy.
That's the vibe. Now, the judge calls for a sidebar, and when they get back, the jury is abruptly dismissed. So we're sitting there, and we see the clock. We see that there's time left for the rest of the day. Probably like a good 30, 40 minutes.
Huh.
Are
And
they a
this
Donnie
judge,
Topper or
he does not like to
Powerball?
let us out early because he's all about
What do you
trying
mean?
to get the trial finished like around the 4th of July. That's his thing. That's always been his thing. So he likes to use every single, he always has every 5 minutes. It adds up over the weeks. But he's just dismissing the jury.
Verse
That's it.
Dom.
Sidebar and then
Yeah.
dismiss.
Don Richard was on the stand
Questioning
for like
versus
20 minutes,
Dom.
not even. And
That's
there's
what she
still time
is.
on the clock, so none of this is making any sense right now. Everybody kind of walks away a little bit confused. Some would even say, I think, honestly, as Don Richard is walking down the aisle and her attorneys are following her out from literally the pew in front of us, she looks confused.
Yeah.
Like, she looks like she thought her testimony would be done Friday and she'd be home for the weekend because she doesn't live in New York City.
Right. And did you guys leave after that?
So we're kind of sticking around trying to figure out what's going on. And even if you do read the transcripts afterwards, you realize that the defense and the
I think it's also nice because we get her play-by-play of what happens when
any of Dawn's
it's
testimony
not
so far has to do
during
with
the
any of the
actual
charges that
testimony.
Combs is actually charged with. That's
So
what they're
good.
saying. They're saying, what does this egg incident have anything to do with sex trafficking, RICO charges, anything?
Egg incident? You mean
prosecutors
frying
argue,
pan
It is
incident?
a few steps removed, Your Honor, but we allege that the entire course of conduct, the way that count 2 is charged, so count 2 is sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, is
So
that
frustrating.
all the abuse created a culture of coercion and a culture of fear. And I think Ms. Ventura testified
glove
to that,
needed.
that the violence was always in the back of her mind when she was told to do a freak off. The judge is trying to clarify. I mean, I think what you're saying is that anything concerning Mr. Combs and violence is now in the case? No, Your Honor. Why wouldn't it be? Now, he's not asking her as in like it should be. He's asking her to challenge her legal thought. Anything concerning Mr. Combs and Ms. Ventura, and abusing Ms. Ventura specifically, who is the victim alleged in count 2. So that's respect with count 2, Your Honor. But Mark Agnifilo argues it's not count 2. It's
Okay.
not sex trafficking. It's domestic violence that you guys are arguing. It's not sex trafficking. It's not one of the charged offenses.
Oh,
It's
the
too
defense
far-
pisses
it's
me off
just
so
too
bad.
far removed. What the government is trying to say is anytime Mr. Combs does anything somewhat
So
violent
bad,
to
dude.
Cassie Ventura, that anyone who sees it, remote in time, the next day in a different place without Ms. Ventura, they then can therefore add evidence to this trial about how afraid they were. It's unduly prejudicial, and this
Oh
is
my
wholly
God.
irrelevant. The judge is trying
It's like,
to
yeah, if you
kind
don't
of
admit anything
negotiate
into
with
it,
both sides. I
eventually
think
it
the
will just be
government's
domestic
argument is
abuse
that they're
because,
saying that the
like,
freak-offs were a
you're
result of force,
not
fraud, or
allowing
coercion. So
most
they
of
can
what
show that
happened
Mr.
to
Combs
be
as to Ms. Ventura
shown in
inflicts
court,
physical
which I
violence
don't
on her on a
understand
continual basis, and then a jury can rationally
that-
infer that when these
I don't
sex
understand the
acts
logic
occurred,
behind
they
what
also
is
were
and
a
what
result of
isn't
the same
allowed in
physical
court.
violence. So
'Cause I feel
why
like it
isn't
should all
that
be
an
allowed
inference that the jury could draw, could permissibly
so you get the
draw?
full picture, but
And
I
always find
what do
these,
I know?
like, back and forth between the attorneys so fascinating. But Mark Agnifilo is saying, I mean, Miss Ventura, first of all, was on and off the stand, and she didn't mention this incident. So let's start with that. She didn't mention this incident. There's no testimony from her about almost being hit with a frying pan. She didn't say a word about it. So we know she was not afraid of that because she didn't mention it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is our position is that this is just a drop dead lie. This didn't happen, and the way we know it didn't happen is because Ms. Ventura didn't talk about it. My point is, if the government's theory is when Cassie Ventura is subject to violence, that is something that's in her head, that compels her to do something that the government is saying is illegal,
Bro,
we can't make
it's
that
in her
connection
head.
with this event because
Fuck off.
Cassie Ventura does not have this event in her head because she's testified this entire week and didn't talk about it. So it's already on dubious ground to start with. The prosecutors argue it's because there's so much violence in the past 11 years that Cassie does not remember every act and instance of violence. But the judge even mentions that some portions of the testimony from Don Richards, quote, strikes me as a case built on gossip as opposed to what witnesses actually saw or did or communications that would otherwise be admissible. So he's not saying the egg incident, but other questions that maybe the prosecutors were trying to get admitted into the testimony. He's not saying like Don is gossiping. He's just saying certain questions that the government is proposing and the way that they're trying to structure the testimony. He
Right?
feels
Like,
is
it's so
not
frustrating. Also, you,
to his
like,
liking.
wouldn't let
Summer.
Cassie
So with that,
say most
Don
things. You
Richard
kept
is more or less
interrupting her,
stuck
so
in
she
New York
wasn't
City
even
for the
able to
weekend.
say
She's
most
gotta come
things.
back
Like,
Monday
oh my,
morning back to the
oh,
courthouse.
it's so
again,
fucking
why did
annoying.
They call it off, dismissed it so early?
Because there was so much sidebar. This is the whole argument that they were having.
So
So they
frustrating.
don't want to continue. They want to think about it, or
No, if they were to have this whole argument and then go back to the testimony, it would have been time for the
What?
jurors to go home. So the jurors would
Caddy?
have just sat around during a
Ty.
massive sidebar.
oh, they
What the
dismissed
fuck?
everyone and they continue this
Yes.
discussion.
Yes.
Ah, okay.
And this is in open court, a lot of it. So you're just sitting And everyone's gone, the jurors are gone, the witness is gone, and you're just listening to them argue.
I'm trying to think of how I should have this.
Now, Monday morning, Dawn Richard walks back in. She's in another perfectly tailored outfit. And this time, Sean Combs barely gives her the time of the day. He doesn't even really look up at her or watch her as she makes her way to the witness stand. He's either taking notes or whispering with his attorneys. He seems extra confident. So that's Friday. This is Monday. He seems even more confident. Now, I will say, I feel like him not even giving Dawn Richard a glance while she's walking to the witness stand is intentional. It just feels intentional. It feels, it just feels like something someone would do.
And he's been staring down. Like you said, when Cassie walked in, he's like trailing her, right?
Yes, but even on the last day of cross-examination, I recall he was not watching her each time.
Watching who?
Cassie.
Oh.
Because it's almost like a, I really don't care about you type of feeling. Is the feeling it gives, because most people are watching Dawn as she's walking.
Yeah.
Damn it.
He seems very confident. The cross-examination is going to happen soon, so is that why? Once everybody is seated, he's leaned back up against his chair again. His shoulders are slightly up, his head is cocked to the side, and he will go from either staring at Dawn while she's talking to jotting down notes. Brian Steele is on the left side of him. He looks super stressed, and they are back to like leaned in super close. I feel like in the beginning they were leaned in close, then they were separated, and now they're sitting so close. If they both look at each other too quickly, I feel like they might exchange a kiss. Like, that's how close they are. Dawn tells the jurors, just to refresh their memory, after she saw Cassie get abused by Combs over eggs, he invited her and Kalina Harper over the next day and told them that, quote, that the relationship that he had, that was an incident of passion and Cassie was okay, and that if we say anything, we could go missing. When Mr. Combs told you that you could go missing, what did you understand him to mean? That we could die. Miss Richard, how did you react when Mr. Combs threatened you in this manner? I didn't react at all. I was shocked, but also scared because it was our first time really getting started to record, and
Trying
that was
to
my
think
first
of
time
other
really being in a group with
things,
everybody, and I couldn't
other good active
believe
service
that this would be the
things
beginning of a journey
that
for us.
fit into this.
After the incident in Mr. Combs' LA residence, were there other occasions where you observed acts of violence between Mr. Combs and Miss Ventura? Yes. How frequently did you observe Mr. Combs being violent with Miss Ventura? Frequently. Can you please describe for the jury what you observed generally? He would punch her, choke her, drag her, slap her in the mouth.
There we go.
I saw him kick her, punch her in the stomach. And generally, based on your observations, what would prompt these acts of violence? It varied. It could be Cass speaking up for herself. It could be
I'm gonna do this
random,
so that it actually
like
fits
we
in.
didn't even know where it came from. It could be she wanted to perform, or she had an opinion about something. It just varied. At this point, Combs is taking notes, and we wrote down, he looks like he's taking as many notes as the press. But so are the jurors. They're a lot more captivated by Dawn Richard's on Monday than they were on Friday. Maybe because the testimony was so abruptly ended on Friday. It felt like something's about to happen. So they're all scribbling down notes when she's describing the violence. Many of the jurors, they start taking notes down at the same time. And when you state that it happens sometimes, when Miss Ventura would speak up for herself, can you describe what you mean by that? Cass is like quiet. She would be quiet. She had a quiet demeanor. She was soft. And then when she would have these moments of like trying to stick up for herself, trying to be more for herself, he wasn't having that. He would hurt her for it. Did you ever observe Miss Ventura with injuries after these instances of abuse? Yes. Where on her body?
Collect ingredients.
Her face.
That's good.
And when I say face, her eyes, her lips, her arms, her knees. How, if at all, would Miss Ventura attempt to cover up or hide these injuries? With makeup.
Okay, have you guys noticed how bad spell check has
So they
gotten?
bring up another incident where Dawn, Kalina, and Combs and Cassie were in his New York City house getting ready for a performance in Central Park. Dawn says that she and Kalina were in the bathroom getting ready. They hear Sean and Cassie arguing in the hallway.
Oh my god, you got there.
And then they look outside the door. He punches her in the face with a closed fist. And afterwards, Cassie comes into the bathroom with them crying, and he's walking away angry, and she's just... Everything was uncomfortable. She says we were with her and it was really quiet. You could see her upset, like she was just hurt and she was embarrassed. Which the jurors are told to disregard the last sentence because Dawn Richards cannot tell us how Cassie felt. But she did observe her eyes swelling, and she just, like, Cassie started doing her makeup to try and hide it. She wore sunglasses that day. Dawn says, so did she, for, quote, solidarity. And at this point, Sean Combs is shaking his head. There are a lot of points during witness testimonies where he shakes his head, or he'll look, okay, not with people like Dawn Richard, but more so maybe like his former PAs, personal assistants, he'll kind of like look at them like, now where are you making up this story? Like that's the vibe he gives when he looks like, I've never heard this before, can you believe it? But with this one, it's like shaking his head. How could you tell a lie like that? It's that feeling. And clearly, he probably wants the jury to see that. She says for a friend to be a support system for someone who needed it. I wanted her to feel supported. She wanted to be with us. We wanted to have her back. In another instance, Dawn says that they were in a Mercedes Sprinter going back home. Cassie and Combs are arguing. He had just punched her in the stomach in front of all of these people in public, and she was telling him that she was embarrassed in the car. Like on the way home, she's like, that was very embarrassing that you hit me in front of all your friends. How did Mr. Combs respond? He grabbed her by the neck and popped her in the mouth. He slapped her in the mouth and told her to shut the fuck up, like an open hand slap to the mouth. At this point, one of the jurors looks up mid-taking notes, so he's like writing down probably Mercedes Sprinter, like, quote, popped her in the mouth.
There we go.
They peer up.
I know that is a
Sean
chore,
Combs,
but like, whatever.
eyebrows raised, takes a second, looks at his side profile, and then goes back to finish writing up the notes. I guess they were trying to see his reaction. What did Miss Ventura respond after
True,
she was
Jeffu. You're right.
She looked outside the window and everyone was quiet for the rest of the ride. There's this really sad moment where, after all that, the prosecutor asks Dawn, Miss Richard, what if anything would you discuss with Miss Ventura about her music career? And Dawn, you can hear her
I hate how
smiling
everything
when
has
she
AI
talks.
now.
She said, Cass had big dreams. She really objection, overruled. Which means Dawn can continue. She wanted to put out her album, and I told her I would write for her. She wanted to do more modeling. She wanted to do well with her career. And I, myself, and Kalina, we encouraged her to do that. We wanted to support her in any way that we could. But she says clearly Combs didn't want it. He didn't like that we knew or we talked to, and oftentimes we'd pay for it.
Pay for what?
What?
Pay
Being
for
around Cassie.
I see.
What, if anything, do you recall Mr. Combs telling you? Oh, man.
How do you
Stay
get
the fuck out of
over
my relationship?
an
You just are here to work. Not be part of my
ejaculation?
relationship. You
Is-
motherfuckers
I have
don't
to
know real
assume
work. It's
come
always you do this or else
for the
something
first
bad will
time
happen
if
to you.
you're
It's always
sig
like that, a
female
threat,
and
that if you
never
didn't stay in
do
line, there was a
eat it
consequence. It was
before,
mean.
or
It
tell
was
them to do
mean.
it first
It
in the
was mean.
shower so it don't
She
smell.
says that even the president of
As
Bad
not
Boy
everyone
Harv
likes
Pierre
kissing
once
coconut.
told her,
What
"It gets
is
dark
happening?
and lonely." And Mr. Combs used to
What
say
do
this
you
too.
mean?
It gets dark and lonely if you don't listen. It was very much like, y'all need to listen to him. Y'all don't want to deal with what happens if you don't. At this point, many of the jurors start taking notes. And I think it's so specific and it evokes a strong feeling. It gets dark and lonely if you don't listen. Like, does that mean you're iced out of Hollywood forever?
Yes, make lunch.
She says clearly she's terrified of him because I had seen and witnessed brutality in a way that I had to believe that if the person that was supposedly in love with Cassie did what he did to her, what would he do to an employee?
Massage?
How did you respond to these threats? My thought was to be as kind as possible. Like, I tried to please. I saw, what if you spoke out? I saw what that looked like. So I would
Bitch,
oftentimes approach
come
Mr.
back.
Combs, like, with softness and like, hey, how are you? It was always very much like, if I do this like this, maybe I'll have a better chance than what the other option looks like. Did you continue to try and intervene in Mr. Combs' relationship? No.
There we go.
I made the decision that it would be best for the safety of myself to not interfere because I don't think she was ready really to do anything. From our perspective in that courtroom, it does seem like Dawn appears to have a harder time testifying to the fact that she didn't help Cassie in certain ways. That's just the listener's perception.
I'm just gonna leave
It
that.
just sounds like maybe she's more traumatized by that than actually witnessing the violence.
How about we do
I mean, it just
symbols?
sounds
Should we
like
have
she's beating
symbols
herself
for
up
the
about
different?
it, is the feeling. She does say, I told her she should leave, but Cass looked torn. Like she would listen, but I could see the fear. And again, Sean Combs shakes his head lightly at that. And at the very end of the direct, she is asked, did you yourself file a civil lawsuit against Mr. Combs? I did. Are you aware of any details of any settlement negotiations with Mr. Combs? No, I'm not. Are you aware of how much money, if at all, has been requested to settle the lawsuit? No, I am not. As a result of your testimony here today, Ms. Richard, are you expecting any compensation?
Okay.
I'm expecting justice. Are you expecting any compensation, Ms. Richard, for your testimony? No. No further questions, Your Honor.
Acts of service.
At this point, like, is it half a day of Monday already, or it's like super brief?
It's pretty brief.
Okay.
The whole direct was pretty brief. Now, I will say there were a lot of objections during Dawn's testimony that even she, when Westmoreland,
You're
Nicole
good.
Westmoreland from the defense, objects to yet another question, Dawn is just like, okay. Like, she doesn't even, it's so many objections that she's like, okay. Mid-sentence, she's talking. Okay.
How do you get over squirt for the first time? I don't know.
You know that
what do you
feeling
mean?
when someone shows
I
up
don't
for you
really understand the
just when you
question
need it the
still.
most? Yeah, we all need that. That is what Uber's all about. It's not just a ride.
What do you mean,
or
how do you get
dinner
over
at your
it?
door. It is how Uber helps you show up for the moments that matter.
What are we getting
Because
over?
Showing up can turn a tough day around, or it can make a good one even better.
Dude, I have
like
the
running
worst
late,
day
break up
now.
ice
It is
cream,
pissing me off
texting
so
intervention,
bad.
cram session snacks, job
Hurts like a
hiring
bitch.
considerations, birthday surprise squad, concert buddy duty, Granny's birthday, or just Taco Tuesday. Recently, my family and I have been playing pickleball, and we were able to Uber Eats not only snacks and hydration, but also sunscreen, hats, and this super random but totally useful ball grabber that helps you reach all the balls that get stuck under bushes.
Nail
Uber is not just there
Is
for
the
food
problem.
and snacks, but
Like, I don't know where the
grocery
fuck
and
they
more.
went. I
So
swear
whatever
I
it
had
is,
them
big
in
or
my
small,
desk, but I don't
Uber
know
is
where
on
they
the
went.
way. So you can be on your way to what matters most to
That's
you.
really annoying.
Uber, on our way.
In here.
So with that, it is time for the cross-examination. Nicole Westmoreland wasn't even supposed to be the one doing the cross-examination. Mark Agnifilo was the one, but he told the judge Monday morning, I checked with the
Dude.
government on Saturday to see if the government would be
I
okay with
don't
the fact
like
that Ms.
her.
Westmoreland would be doing the cross of the current
don't like
witness
her at
rather
all.
than myself. And they said they were fine with that.
Nicole Westmoreland.
So I don't know what changed over the weekend that made Nicole Westmoreland take the cross, but Nicole Westmoreland, she worked with Brian Steele on the Young Thug case. She's an attorney from Atlanta. She's very petite. She was one of the last attorneys to be added to the defense team. She wasn't even here for, I think, like the first few days of jury selection.
Yeah,
Or
I
at
don't
least
know
like
where
the
the
beginning
fuck my nail
portions.
clippers are.
That's right.
Yeah, because I believe she was still either in Georgia or working on another case. She finally makes it to New York City, and since the trial
Oh my God,
kicked
you're right,
off,
Lemon.
She really has not been that particularly active in the courtroom. I'm sure they're all working crazy after, behind
What?
the scenes. But you don't really hear her talk, even amongst
Some people
attorneys.
get a
It's not like
temperature
she's this
spike and start
booming voice that's
vomiting
just
from
constantly
minor
socializing.
shock?
And I mean, we haven't really taken
From
that many notes
squirting?
even on her demeanor. Just that she wears really nice Christian Louboutins. She has
See a
Chanel bag and she
doctor.
looks good every day.
What?
She just kind of flies under the radar until she takes that podium.
Not
on
yet,
Monday
Brandon, not
for the
yet.
cross-examination of Dawn Richard. Now, I'm gonna try to include
Okay, acts
clips
of
Nicole
service. I'm
Westmoreland
trying to
during
think
other
of something
trials
that
where it has been televised. I don't know
gets
if
across
it's
the
maybe
message of,
echoing
like,
the courtroom.
doing
She's
something
got this
as well as it
incredibly
being
low-octave,
heart.
velvety, rich voice. And I can't even do it for you. Good morning, Ms. Richard. My name is Nicole Westmoreland. I represent Mr. Combs, okay?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. Okay. So, you do not know when this video, the social media post, you do not know when it was created, correct?
I do not.
All right.
This woman, she
Like, I do
sounds
not like this
incredibly
cross. This cross
authoritative.
is
the best
annoying.
way that I can describe her aura when she's on that lectern is
Yeah, if
she
someone's gonna
sounds like a
pass
Southern
out,
professor,
then definitely
a cutthroat
go to
professor
the hospital.
that you admire because she knows what she's talking about. She's probably the best professor in her field, but she's very intense. She doesn't like to play around. She holds herself and all of her students to very high standards. And when she finally does crack a joke with you or give you a compliment on anything, you're going home kicking your feet the entire weekend. You feel special. That is the best way to describe Westmoreland. This is the very first thing that she's been doing, at least public facing, of course, in this trial. I'm sure she's working really hard behind the scenes, but she doesn't seem nervous at all. Some of the other attorneys during their first cross, they seemed a little bit nervous. Even like Brian Steele before his second cross that we're gonna get into in another video.
Active
He's
service.
like in and out of the courtroom. It seems like he's going to the restroom. He seems like really like got a lot of pent up energy. But not Westmoreland. She's got her hip popped up against the podium. Her body is naturally angled towards the jurors. She looks like she lives on this podium. I need to ask you a few questions, okay? Now, before filing a lawsuit against Mr. Combs, you're aware that your attorney sent a demand letter on your behalf,
Could
correct?
be like on a platter.
I'm not aware of what my attorney sent. I'm
Be like
sorry.
a heart on a platter.
Without telling me any conversations
That could
between
work.
you and your lawyers you hired, civil lawyers, correct? I have civil lawyers. And you understand that the civil lawyers that you hired are litigating on your behalf, correct? Can you give that in a term that I can understand? You hired lawyers to do a job on your behalf. Yes. Thank you.
And you do not know who posted it, correct? You cannot say that for a
I
fact?
cannot say who posted.
Okay. And in fact, you do not know who filmed the video, correct?
I do not.
You do not. All right. And you do not know what approximate time that you saw the post, correct?
Ms. Richard, now after filing a formal lawsuit against Mr. Combs, you had an interview with the government. Do you remember that? What are you referring to? Like
That
just
works.
a conversation with? Can you give me more? I'm sorry. You've had the opportunity to sit down and speak with federal prosecutors, the government, correct? Correct. And you sat down and you spoke with them numerous times, right? A few times. You sat down with them 8 times. Does that sound right? One thing I will say is Westmoreland does not look at her notes like much during this cross. She's very prepared. To give you the idea of the exact feeling I had during this cross was, first of all, the jurors, they're all looking at Westmoreland when she talks. A lot of them don't even glance at Dawn Richards in the beginning when she's responding. Later, they'll like be bouncing back and forth like they're at the US Opens. But in the beginning, when she's just going through like these little yes and no questions, some of them don't even look at Dawn Richards for her response. Westmoreland has complete control over this courtroom.
You asked Mr. Nichols for his name.
I did.
He provided it to you.
He did.
He gave you his real name.
He did.
It's fair to say he was cooperative.
He was.
Okay.
She's come prepared and she did not come to play or just wing it. I don't recall the number, I'm sorry. Would several be fair? A few times. Would you agree with me that over the few times that you sat down and spoke with the government that your allegations, the one that you've testified to today, have changed over time? No, I think they've been as best as I can recall. You think they've been consistent? As best as I can recall. First, I want to speak with you about your testimony on Friday about the egg in the kitchen incident. Do you remember explaining a situation like that to the jury? Yes, ma'am. So already Dawn Richard is going into her yes ma'am responses, which it does, like, I don't know if, it's just interesting. It feels like Nicole Westmoreland is completely in control of this conversation. So he attempted to hit her on the head, and then you testified Ms. Ventura dropped down into a fetal position. She covered herself, yes. And that's your testimony? Yeah. This isn't the first time testifying on Friday and today. It's not the first time you spoke about this egg alleged incident, right? Spoke in my civil case and right now. And you've also spoken about it to the prosecutors. We've spoken, yes. Let's start with the civil part. Are you aware in the letter sent
You see how annoying
on
this
your
cross
behalf
is?
to
It's
Mr.
so
Combs
annoying.
that the egg
Ugh.
incident that you allegedly saw that is described, are you aware of that? Side note, even Nicole Westmoreland's reference to the incident as the egg incident does not seem to be unintentional. Even the judge on Friday called it the incident with the skillet. Later he said, I will call it the skillet incident. But Nicole Westmoreland consistently calls it the alleged egg incident.
That's
So annoying.
crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
She is prepared.
Yeah, it's so interesting because it's so subtle, but it's likely very impactful over time. Like these
Yes.
types of changes in the wording and rebranding in real time, if you will. Are you aware in the letter sent on your behalf to Mr. Combs that the egg incident that you allegedly saw, that it's described? Are you aware of that? No, I'm not aware. I'd like to show it to you to see if it would refresh your memory, okay? Even the way she says that is just very interesting. Like she's able
There
to
we
build
go.
trust
This will be
really
acts
quickly
of
because a lot of the
service.
times the records that she's showing Dawn Richard, we're not privy to. The press,
Let's
we don't
go.
see them. They're not admitted into
What do we
evidence.
think?
But the
It's
way
not
Nicole
actually the
Westmoreland is
egg
saying it,
incident,
I'm
it's the
like, I feel like
frying
I
pan
trust
incident,
whatever's
because
on
there
that
wasn't
document.
really
Like, if you're telling me
eggs.
that's on that
Like,
document, it probably
yeah,
is on
they
that
were
document
gonna cook
because
eggs
of
in the
way
frying
she
pan,
presents
but like,
herself. And I
he
wonder if
was
it's
gonna
the
hit
same
her
thing
in the
for
head
the
with a
jurors.
frying pan.
And I'm not saying this as like a way
That
to
happened to
side
have
with
eggs in it.
one party or the other. I think
So they're
everyone
calling it
should
the
be
egg
innocent
incident to try to
until they are proven
downplay it when it
guilty,
was
and that
really
burden is
like
on
a
the
frying
government.
pan.
But I will say her presence in that courtroom was very trustworthy. It was very authoritative.
That he may have been in
Thank
that
you,
car,
thank
correct?
you.
You don't know. I asked you
You're
that
stupid. You're fine. You're not stupid. You're fine.
Correct.
earlier. Okay.
You don't need to
She's
apologize
so
for
confident, so
asking
firm,
questions.
so natural.
I
It just
don't
feels like
mind.
if she told me the sky is pink, maybe I'm naive, maybe I would be a victim of a cult one day. I
Thank
would be
you,
like, the sky
thank
is pink.
you. Thank
Mr.
you,
Sharp,
guys.
could
All
you
right.
please read that to yourself? And once you're finished, please look
Let's
up
make
at
it a
me.
brush.
And she sounds like a professor. Like, just please look up at me. Dawn is just following her complete
Oh my God.
lead. She looks up. Are you done? Yes, ma'am. Did you ever make the statement that you heard a pan hit the wall? You didn't see it?
Paste. Done.
I don't recall.
Done.
Does looking at the
Fuck
document
you.
refresh your memory? I don't recall that,
Got the
though, writing that.
brush.
Are you aware that that was said on your behalf? Objection, Your Honor. Sustained. Interestingly, in this moment, instead of just asking a new question, Westmoreland goes to rephrase it and even guides the jury on where to go now. So I think this was, because I was
There we
looking
go.
into how
Okay.
to handle a really good cross-examination, because I'm not an attorney,
Right,
I don't have any
Lemon.
legal experience, and
He
I
sucks
was
on
getting
so many
confused because certain
levels.
cross-examinations or even direct testimonies, I'm like, why are the attorneys asking such convoluted questions? They keep bringing us everywhere, and I feel like if I'm confused, probably the jurors are also confused because we're just normal people with no legal background. And they were saying that a lot of the times, framing questions, giving timeline is very specific and very important because you don't want the jurors to feel like, wait, what topic
That's
are we
too
on now?
small.
Nicole Westmoreland is very good. Let's go back. You hired civil attorneys, correct? Correct. And you are aware that civil lawyers reached out to lawyers in reference to Mr. Combs. You're aware of
Okay,
that,
so
right?
acts of service works
I'm
for
not aware
her.
of
I
that,
feel like
sorry.
we should have.
You're aware that that they filed a lawsuit on your behalf.
I feel like we should have
And
it
you
be so
understand what a
like
civil
she
suit is,
can
correct?
also accept a few
Correct.
other
That's when you're suing someone. Correct.
things.
And you're asking for money. Correct. You understand that.
Like
I'm asking
she
for
can have like a
compensation for the
secondary
work
one
I
that she
have.
also enjoys. So
Compensation,
let's
money, whatever term
come
you'd
up with
like
the
to
other
use, that's what
ones.
you're asking for, right? Correct. At that moment, if I'm not mistaken, I did see one of the
so
jurors
acts of
smirk.
service, gift, quality
I
time,
don't
and
know if that
touch.
smirk is in reference to
Those can
perhaps
be
Westmoreland is
the ones we come up with.
grilling Dawn and it comes off a little mean, or could it be that, yeah, I mean, compensation is money. I don't know. Meanwhile, Combs is looking up at Westmoreland. He looks very impressed, not confused or agitated like he did in some of the other crosses. He looks very
Quality
impressed.
time.
Ms. Richard, let me ask you this. You sat down with the
And
federal
then-
government on October 31st, 2024, didn't you? I don't remember the date, I'm sorry. May I show
We'll
you
start with
something to
that.
help refresh your memory? Please. Yes, thank you. Now that you had the chance to look at the document, does that help refresh your memory that you met with the government on October 31st, 2024? It doesn't help me because I don't know what the document, like I've never seen that document before. Do you have any reason to disagree with me that you met with the government? I was saying I didn't see this document. No worries, no worries. I want to get to the substance of it. When you met with the government, didn't you tell them that Mr. Combs actually hit Ms. Ventura with a frying
Okay.
pan? I said he attempted to hit her with a frying pan. I didn't ask you that. Did you actually tell the government,
Actually,
not that he attempted to hit her,
I don't do this.
that he did hit her? Yes.
Wait, so are you saying that based on the document that they've reviewed, Dawn told the government that
He did.
he did hit her,
Yes.
and she's like honing in on that point. Hey, you said that he hit her on that day.
Like
Okay.
And now, Friday testimony, you're saying he tried to hit her. Like, he
I know
didn't
it's
hit her,
their
it didn't look
job,
like he fully
but
hit her.
fuck
Right.
these
You
lawyers.
told the government that he hit her? Yes. And you agree with me that there's a major difference between attempting to hit someone with a frying pan and actually hitting them. You agree with that? Yes. And you understand
Is
that
there a
when you were
difference in
sitting down with the
intention?
federal
I don't think
prosecutors that it
so.
was very important for you to tell the truth.
Oh God.
Yes. And at some point, the jurors are like watching this back and forth.
don't
again.
recall.
That this is like the
Brandon,
U.S.
right?
Olympics. In the beginning, it's just Nicole Westmoreland.
Ugh.
They're only looking at Westmoreland. And now it's like their heads were making me
Okay,
dizzy.
let's see.
And you understand that it was important for you to be as accurate as
I
possible.
feel like this one's easy. We
to
just
the
put
best
it
of
in
my
the
ability,
box.
yes. And you know that you need to tell the ladies and gentlemen of this jury the truth. Absolutely. And you would agree with me that there is a difference between hitting someone with a frying pan and throwing a frying pan, correct?
A
Correct.
small difference.
But you gave two different
I
stories,
guess.
didn't you? I did the best that I could recall. How about you gave another interview? Would you have reason to disagree with me that your next interview was on March 18th, 2025?
Yeah.
I wouldn't disagree with you, that sounds right. And in that interview, isn't it true that you told the federal prosecutors that Mr. Combs actually threw eggs at Ms. Ventura? No, I don't recall that. You don't recall that? And that after throwing eggs at Ms. Ventura, that he actually set the pan back down? Do you remember saying that? I don't recall that. Let me show you
Bro.
something to help refresh your memory, okay? Please read that to yourself and then look up at me when you're done. Are you done? I am. Does it refresh your memory that you actually told the prosecutors that Mr. Combs didn't hit her with the pan at all? I don't recall saying that, I'm sorry. You don't recall saying that? Uh-huh. And we discussed that when you had these interviews that there was a note taker, right? Yes. You agree that throwing eggs and then setting the pan down is different than hitting someone with a pan, right? I do. And you agree that hitting someone with a pan is very different from attempting to hit someone with a pan, right? Correct. And you agree that hearing a pan thrown against the wall is different than all three of the other ways, right? Correct. Miss Richard, let me ask you. Would you agree with me that it's been hard for you to keep your story the same in reference to this egg incident? Objection. Overruled. No, I wouldn't agree with that. You
So
would agree
annoying.
that you told multiple different stories, though. No, I would agree that I told it to the best of my recollection, and it was as close as I could give it. To the best of your recollection, you have 4 different recollections on what may have happened that day? No, I don't. Let's talk about the day after. Now, you testified on Friday, and you furthered that testimony today, and you explained to us that Mr. Combs called you to the studio the next day, right? He did. And that you went to the studio, Mr. Combs locked the door, and he told you this was love and passion thing, right? Correct. And then he told you, you better not say anything, and excuse me, he told you and Miss Harper, right? Miss Harper was there, and he told both of you, you better not say anything
There,
because
that's
where
good.
I'm from, people go missing. Correct. And that's what you told the ladies and the gentlemen of the jury in this court. That's what you said. Correct. And that's the truth. That's the truth. Now, testifying Friday and today, that's not the first time that you've had the opportunity to explain the alleged incident, right? Correct. Because you sat down with the prosecutors on numerous occasions, right? Correct.
Perfect.
October 31st, 2024. We're going back to what you don't
make this
argue with me
hard.
is the first interview.
A little.
So she's not saying like don't argue with me. She's like saying you didn't argue that this was the first interview. Like you verified it's the first interview.
That's wow. The
Yeah.
framing of even that statement is so
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, she's so sharp on her feet.
Wow.
I
Like,
would lose.
I would
probably
like watch every word that I say because even
we
if
go.
I phrase it differently,
Yes.
it will be used against me somehow.
Yeah.
You know, so
Aw.
it's like her logic is really logicy.
I felt like if I were up there, I wouldn't be able to breathe.
Mm.
I could see myself just yes ma'am, and then just trying to get out because it was so. Now, isn't it true that at that interview, during that interview, you explained to the prosecutors that Mr. Combs told you this was nothing but a love argument, right? No one was hurt? Correct. And you did not tell the prosecutors that Mr. Combs told you where I'm from, people go missing. Can I see what you're saying? Because
Perfect.
absolutely. So she's like, can I see the document
She's
of
so-
the notes from the government meeting? And she's like, absolutely. Thank you. Please read to yourself and
Okay,
look up
what
at me
should
when you're done.
quality
That
time
whole
look
line, please.
like?
Thank you. You're done? Mm-hmm. Does that refresh your memory that you did not tell the federal prosecutors that Mr. Combs told you people go missing?
Feel like
I
overlap two
always
parts,
state what I've
maybe just
stated, so
overlap
if not,
it?
it's not my recollection. That wasn't stated, but that was what happened. Let's go to your interview on March 18th, 2025. That's your next interview. And isn't it true in that interview, you stated that Mr. Combs said this was a love thing, no one was hurt, right? And you did not say anything about Mr. Combs telling you people go missing. What was the question? You didn't tell prosecutors that on March 18th, 2025. Isn't that true? No, that's not true. I don't recall not saying that. I'm going to show you a document to refresh your memory. I'll ask you one question. You didn't tell the prosecutors on March 18th, 2025, your second interview with Mr. Combs, that Mr. Combs told you people go missing. I tell my story as I remember it. I think I tell my story as I remember it. Those are not the best words to be used. Regardless of how one feels about Don Richard and about this whole testimony, I think that was generally not the best response. I felt like a lot of people kind of winced in the courtroom because those are words that could be so easily twisted. I
I'm
tell
thinking
my
this.
story as I remember it. Just the word choice was not optimal. But later Dawn further clarifies, I spoke as best as I could
Nice.
as I remember it. It was a long time ago. I'm doing my best to understand these questions as best as I can. Let me ask you this. When you were in that room with the federal prosecutors, Mr. Combs was not there, right? No? None of his lawyers were there. I wasn't there. And you felt safe in the room with federal prosecutors? Yes, ma'am. And you know it was important to tell the truth? Yes. Right. And you would agree that you alleging Mr. Combs threatened you was something that you would want to tell the United States federal government, right? Yes, ma'am. And although that's what you're saying here in trial, you would agree with me that even in your second interview, you didn't mention that.
He's sleeping.
I
kicking in his
mentioned
sleep.
it. Whether or not, I don't know what the notes were taken. I don't know. I can't know what the notes are going to be taken. Sorry. You did another interview on April 17th, 2025. Okay. Do you have a reason to disagree with that date? No. During that interview, you and the United States government, you guys spoke about this incident that you're alleging. You spoke about it again. Do you agree with that? I would have to see the document. No worries. Could you please pull up 3574-012, page 2, first paragraph? Please look up at me when you're done. I'm done. We're on our third interview. Mr. Combs was not there? No, he was not. I wasn't there?
Okay,
No.
let's do
None of his
this.
lawyers were there? No, ma'am. You felt safe in this interview? Yes, ma'am. You didn't tell the federal prosecutors that Mr. Combs told you people go missing.
That's good.
I told them exactly what my recollection of that event was. So your recollection that day was that Mr. Combs didn't threaten you by telling you that people go missing. He threatened me and said people go missing. I understand that's what you're testifying here. I'm asking you, you didn't tell the government that on April 17th, 2025, your third interview, correct? I'm telling you, I told them what I remembered. So you just didn't remember the threat. No, I remembered everything I'm telling you now. Ms. Richard, isn't it true that the first time that you mentioned and alleged that Mr. Combs told you people go missing was a week ago on May 10th, 2025? No, ma'am. Would you like me to show you the rest of your interviews to refresh your recollection?
Okay.
I know what I said, ma'am. Now, you said that when Mr. Combs told you people go missing, you took that to be a death threat. Yes, ma'am. That's what you're telling us, right? Yes, ma'am. A death threat that you didn't recall on 7 different occasions? Objection? That's sustained. Let's move on, Ms. Richard. You testified to some other incidents that you allegedly witnessed. Now, you told us about a restaurant, right? And that Ms. Ventura and Mr. Combs were arguing and that he punched her. He hit her. Yes, ma'am.
There we go.
Please tell us who was at this restaurant. Harv Pierre, Capricorn Clark, Mia, and myself, Kalina, our bodyguards, which were Bonds and D-Rock and Cassie. Side note, this was
There.
covered in the direct.
Perfect.
In the direct, and this is the part where I was like, wait, now I need to see those government notes because
That
I'm
looks good.
confused. This
That will
is
be
the
good
part
for
where I was
quality
like, wait,
time.
maybe I'm mistaken. I'm mistaken because I kept looking through the direct and I'm like, I don't understand the point being made in the cross. Now, in the direct, the prosecutor asks Dawn about this exact incident, perhaps not even an hour prior to Westmoreland asking her. Miss Richard, directing your attention right to the following year in 2010, did there come a time where you were in a restaurant in West Hollywood, California, and Mr. Combs and Miss Ventura
Like, what?
got into an altercation?
What is the
Yes.
point they're trying to
What
make?
happened at that restaurant? Mr. Combs punched Cassie in the stomach. Can you please describe what you observed leading up to that incident? We were having a private conversation and we were all sitting, eating at the tables together when I saw, I mean some bad boy, some from our label, and even some celebrities were in the room and they were secretly arguing and he punched her in the stomach. Sean Combs punched Cassie in the stomach. She immediately bent over and then he told her to leave because I could see him point out and she went out and left the room. Who, if any, of Mr. Combs' employees were present? Harv Pierre, Capricorn Clark, Mia, D-Rock, Bonds, myself, and Kalina Harper. What, if anything, did Harv Pierre or the other
What should
employees
touch
present
me?
do to intervene after the incident? They didn't. No one intervened. We didn't. So now back in the cross-examination, Westmoreland is asking Dawn about it. Now, you've spoken about that incident before, and you remember being asked who was all there, right? Mm-hmm. Do you recall alleging several celebrities were actually there? Yes. So when the government asked you who was all there, and I asked you who was all there right now, you didn't mention any of the celebrities, right? Please recall those celebrities now. Usher was there, Jimmy Iovine was there, Neo came through. There were a lot of few others. I don't recall those
This can
people,
be
but those
touch.
were the ones I remember talking to.
We gotta
Those
clean
are the
it
ones
up a
you
bit,
remember
but,
talking
like,
to.
This will be it.
Any reason why you left those individuals out when I asked you the question? I thought you were recalling what I mentioned here, asking me to give you the names of the people I mentioned here. Any reason you left these individuals out when the government asked you the question?
Oh my god.
She just asked me who was there. And if those individuals were there, why didn't you say their name? I'm not sure. So this part I didn't quite grasp. It felt like in the direct she did mention that a few other celebrities were there. She did tell the government that.
Oh, she say boom, 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 and then a few others.
Yeah, like a few celebrities were there.
Okay.
But she didn't mention them by name, and the government did not ask her to elaborate. I also don't think that if I were Dawn, I probably wouldn't want to bring a bunch of celebrities' names in, because anytime a celebrity name is dropped in this trial, it seems like there's
headline news.
a spawns of TikToks and conspiracies, and so I get it. Like, I don't think, maybe she's trying to do them a favor of not mentioning their names unless she absolutely has to and is going to commit
trying
perjury.
to not get sued
So this part I didn't really understand.
by a bunch of random
for Westmoreland,
celebrities.
this is another opportunity for her to discredit her, right?
Yeah, Westmoreland moves on to her next point, where she asks Dawn Richard of all the times she saw a gun near or on Sean Combs, which she states that it was never mentioned to prosecutors during the 8 interviews she's had with them. And out of 8 interviews, you didn't tell the prosecution, hey, I saw a gun. It was at the studio at Daddy's house. That's the studio name. You didn't tell them that? I answered what was asked of me. They didn't ask you any detail? That wasn't asked at the time. Well, when you say at the time, I'm talking about 8 times. It wasn't asked, I'm sorry.
Like,
okay.
what do you want her to say? It's
I feel
so
like
confusing.
Combs is getting a lot of confidence from this cross-examination. So this actually takes place Monday. Tuesday, he comes in. He's like in the best mood of his life.
Really? How
that
so?
we've seen so far. Just like lots of more interactions with the jury. He seems very upbeat. He seems like he's got like a pep in his step, and I feel like maybe a lot of it is coming from this. Even during Nicole Westmoreland's cross, he is more frequently looking over at Nicole Westmoreland and probably the jurors sitting right behind her. At one point, he even passes a note to Mark Agnifilo. Mark
That
Agnifilo
works.
reads the post-it, looks back at Sean Combs, and just
Like,
smiles and nods. It feels like it's not
it's
an
like,
actual note. It feels like,
so
hell yeah,
when
and then he's like, hell
the
yeah. Like, that's the feeling I got.
government
I mean, it could be
was
not.
asking
It
you
could be something
questions
else,
about
like,
the
I'm
frying
hungry,
pan
and he's
and
smiling,
sorry,
and I
the
don't
egg
know,
incident.
But it just felt like that. never
Why
saw
didn't
Mr.
you
Combs do
mention
cocaine,
that when
right?
you were at the club,
Objection.
other people were there? Like,
Sustained. I'm asking, have you ever seen Mr.
sir,
Combs do
because
cocaine?
that
Yes.
was they
You
didn't
have.
ask what.
Okay. Was there a time that you told the government in interviews that you've never seen Mr. Combs do cocaine? I don't recall that. Let me help refresh your memory. Can you please pull up Doc
This works for
3574006?
Wow.
Can you take us to page 7? This is for the parties. First bullet point. Can you highlight that? Miss Richard, can you
Does
please...
she recall these pages like instantly, or does she have to look for it and then call it out?
She looks down to read it, but she's not like flipping through her pages. So a lot of the other cross-examinations, and to be fair to Esteveo, her cross-examination of Cassie Ventura was 2 days long,
Yeah.
but a lot of it was like,
Going through.
and then it was like, wait, what are we moving on to right now? Like, I don't even know what this question is in reference to. Like, I don't know what timeline you're asking this
Perfect.
of
Yeah.
Cassie. But with Nicole Westmoreland, I mean, she's like
We got these
just
now.
glancing down, looking for the numbers. That's it. Did that refresh your memory? It did.
Right,
So
it's
I'll ask
like
you again. Isn't it true
they
that you told the
expect
government
people
that you've never
to
seen
answer
Mr. Combs do
questions in
cocaine?
interviews
At
in
the
ways
time, I
that people
hadn't
just
recalled.
don't.
No. I'm sorry. At the
do
time
that.
you did the interview on October 31st, you hadn't recalled that. No, I hadn't. But the government asked you about Mr. Combs' drug usage, right?
Okay,
They
which
did.
would be her
And
other
you didn't
one
say to the
she
government,
likes?
hey, I don't know.
Probably touch.
No, I didn't say that. You told the government, Mr. Combs, I've never seen him do cocaine. That's what you said? Yes. And you would agree with me that your testimony has changed on that. It has? I mean, you would agree with me at this point that your testimony's changed on quite a few things. I think as time progresses, I get better with knowing it because it was so long ago. So you would agree with me that as time progresses, your story changes.
Oh my
Yes. And isn't it true that you've never actually seen One Stop sell drugs? Okay, so One Stop is the drug dealer that would allegedly drop by the
You're so
studio to sell
annoying
drugs.
with these
and it's incorrect
questions.
that he's called One Stop because he's a one-stop shop. He even sells Plan B.
Yay! Okay,
and, like,
progress
Advil,
chat.
along
This is
with
looking
coke.
good.
So there's that, a whole CVS and
Right,
an
it's a
alleyway
story
on one
from
person.
memory. Of course,
And
it's
isn't
going
it
to be
true that
different
you've
every
never
time
seen
you
One
tell
Stop
it.
actually
That's why
sell drugs?
eyewitness
No, I've seen One Stop sell drugs. Who did you see
is
give One
only
Stop money?
so
That
reliable
varied. It could be
because
an assistant,
people's
or it could be
recollection
Puff giving the assistant money to pay for it.
changes over
You said
time.
could be. I'm not asking you to speculate. That's not allowed here. I'm asking you to answer the question if you know. Yeah, I've
Ooh.
seen him give money, an assistant
Okay.
give money to One Stop, and he would give drugs. Can you please pull up document 3574015, page 2? This is just for the parties.
Let's
Isn't
do
it true that you had an interview with the government, right? And you discussed
these
one stop.
that are locked here.
They asked you questions. They
We won't
meaning
do
the
the
government,
secrets 'cause
and
that's like a
whether
separate
you
thing.
had witnessed One Stop selling drugs. Isn't it true that you
But-
told the government that you never saw anyone give payment to One Stop? Yes. You didn't know who paid for the drugs.
Let's
Correct.
see.
Right. So when you testified today in front of the ladies and gentlemen of the jury that you saw One Stop sell drugs, that you saw Mr. Combs pay him for drugs, that was a lie? No. So you agree with me that what you're testifying to today is different than what you told the government in that interview? Correct. Another story change?
Favorite
Not a
date and
story
favorite
change,
gift.
but
What
yes,
would they
different.
be?
Ms. Richard, I don't know the exact count, but at this point, you would agree with me that we have several story changes. Objection, sustained. Let's talk about
Thank
your
you.
testimony in reference to how threatened you felt by Mr. Combs. You were scared? Yes. Very? So, Ms. Richard, you
do you
separated
think
in
her
2011,
favorite gift
meaning you
would
went on
be?
as a solo artist, right? Correct.
No,
And
right? They're
you were no
so
longer
they
around
want to do
with or around Mr.
they want to
Combs.
have an OJ trial
Right.
so bad.
And I mean, you being pretty scared and so fearful in fear of your life after 2011, you were away from him, right? Correct. And I'm sure you being pretty fearful and scared of him, that once you were able to get away from him, you definitely wouldn't want to come back, right? Correct. But you would agree with me that
Favorite
you
date
actually asked
for
Mr. Combs
her
to come
should
back,
be
didn't you?
like
No, not to come back, no. They pull up a text message thread just for the party so we don't get to see it. Isn't it true that Mr. Combs didn't just reach out to you? You reached out to him? Correct? So you weren't just responding in kind, you were initiating conversation.
Bro.
Dawn tries to bring up the fact that, yes, she did reach out to Sean Combs multiple times after she left in 2011, but it was mainly because she was either trying to get in contact with somebody else, or she mentions that Kalina Harper was going through some things and maybe they wanted to get Diddy Dirty Money back together. So she was doing it more so for Kalina Harper versus like, I want to spend time with this guy. Like that's kind of what it is implied during the testimony. Westmoreland brings up Dawn's solo career and how when she was part of both Danity Kane and Diddy Dirty Money, they're getting platinum for songs. And since she's gone solo, you've released over 100 songs?
You're fine.
Correct. And you would agree with me that the songs that you've released haven't reached the levels of success as Dirty Money and Danity
Silly
Kane.
dog.
To me, no offense, but you agree with that, right? Correct. And you agree with me that you actually asked Mr. Combs to sign you as a solo artist.
When she's
Before I
sleeping
left.
on his little perch next to
So
me.
there's this whole debate and back and forth about why would you, if you were so scared for your life, if he had threatened you and said people go missing back where I'm from, then why would you even want to
I
work
think
with
her
him?
favorite gift
And
will be
it's-
an ingredient.
It just is like a continuation of this back and forth, and there's a lot of parts in the cross-examination where it just feels like a lot of power play. That's what it feels like. For example, Westmoreland would say, music is your dream? Yes. And you've been trying to succeed at it for a long time. I did succeed at it. In the past? Now. Like, it just...
So annoying.
Like, in the moment, I know when I say it, it doesn't seem like a ooh. It doesn't seem like a power play, but I think in that moment, there was a level of tension. It was a level of like, there was so much tension in that courtroom during the cross-examination. I think this was probably the most brutal. That's the word that I hear most
You know what,
people say in the
let's-
hallways. It was just brutal to watch. It was brutal to hear, to witness. In one line of questioning, Westmoreland asks Dawn, you once yourself had fame, right? It just, everything seems like there is an emphasis on
You
Dawn
once
Richard
yourself had
only
fame.
doing well
Like,
in her
shut
musical
the
career
fuck
when she was
up.
associated with Sean Combs. And there's really just
So annoying.
it just was a lot. By this point in the cross, most of the jurors aren't even taking notes. They're not even looking at Dawn Richard, but at Nicole Westmoreland. At one point, there is a brief sidebar, and I'm watching the jurors, two of them, from our perception. They look at each other, their eyes are wide, and they're like nodding, kind of. It gave the, damn. It could have been something else, but it looked like that
Nar.
to me. Even after the sidebar, Combs, he's not even paying attention. He's just pouring himself a water. It feels like he believes Westmoreland has it down pat already, and there's nothing more. Once he's done pouring his water, he's pivoting his entire body towards the jurors, and Westmoreland continues her line of questioning about the lawsuit. and that after Dawn Richard read Cassie Ventura's lawsuit, she then filed her own lawsuit. So Nicole Westmoreland is trying to make it seem like a money grab, like a cash grab. And shortly after Ms. Ventura filed suit, you filed suit yourself, right?
Motherfucker.
And it is your want to
Make
get a
a
lot of money
polyline.
from Mr. Combs, correct? No. So you're not filing a lawsuit to get money. I'm filing a lawsuit to get compensated for the work that I put forth. And you would agree with me that your definition of compensation is money. Yes, correct.
Oh my
I
god.
have no further questions.
Shut up.
There is this incredibly long sidebar where Dawn Richards looks incredibly uncomfortable. I mean, the whole thing, everybody's looking uncomfortable. And during this sidebar, okay, so right behind the defendant is a sketch artist on that first pew. And then the second pew is a family friend, because the family, that's usually reserved for the family, but they're not there. So, like, a lot of the family friends have been sitting in that pew, and he's, like, looking at the sketch artist, trying to do a thumbs up. A court officer was passing by, and so the family friend is peering, trying to look over the sketch artist's shoulder at the sketch. The court officer is walking by, so clearly they see the sketch, and the family friend looks up at the court officer and does, like, a thumbs up towards the sketch, as in, is the sketch good? And it's just so interesting that the family
So
friend puts
weird.
emphasis on the sketch. Christian Combs, one of the sons, also had a moment with the sketch artist that we noted in beginning of the trial. And so I just wrote in my notes, does defendant get pissy about sketches? Because some of these sketches have not been favorable to the defendant. So it's just interesting to see.
Actually, wait, I can.
And what did the
I'm
officer
stupid.
do?
The court officer did a thumbs up, and then, so my researcher and I, we fully pivoted our bodies to try and take a look at the sketch. It was not a thumbs up sketch, so I'm not, yeah. I think the court officer was just trying to keep everything peaceful.
There we go.
But it's very interesting, this strong level of intrigue coming from the defendant's side about these sketches. This has been very fascinating. For the redirect after the cross-examination, the prosecutor goes back up, and I will say it's the prosecutor, they're not going to be aggressive in any of these, because right now it's the government's case in chief. All of these people are either government witnesses or they're subpoenaed by the government. I do believe when it's the defense case in chief, the prosecutors are going to be a lot more aggressive, grilling a lot of the witnesses when they are in the cross-examination spot. So naturally, the prosecutor is just trying to rehabilitate the testimony and the witness's credibility. So during the redirect, she's asking clarifying questions of, why did you now decide to talk about it? Like, what's going on? Why did you try not to think about all of the events? Because that's why Dawn is like, yeah, I'm trying to remember all of these things, but it happened so long ago, and for so long, I just tried to suppress the memory of these.
Because
And she says,
obviously.
because it was a hard time. It was a bad time for me and a bad environment for me. Can you describe the process for the jury of trying to recall these events that you've tried to forget for so long? They don't all come back immediately. I have to go back to memories that I don't want to. and it
Today
takes
we're
time
gonna
to remember
go
things that have happened
until
during that
we have like a
time
half
that
an hour
you
more
try to
on this
forget.
stream.
Miss Richard, without speaking about
Which-
your personal condition, what if any memories have you been trying to suppress? The environment was volatile and it was very hard to
so
work.
the
And
rest
so I
of this
tried to erase
video.
those things from my mind.
And
She
then
said that
Teddy
every
channel
day
stream
it does get
at
easier, but one thing
2
to
o'clock,
note is during the redirect
and
they mentioned
then
that
Twitch
every single
later
time
at
in every
5:30.
meeting with the government, Dawn Richard has detailed interactions between Sean Combs and Cassie, and they were violent. And there was Cassie being attacked and beaten. That has always been consistent.
Right.
Now, there is a quick sidebar that's held before Westmoreland does her recross, where she asks the judge, and we don't hear this in court. We only see this on the transcripts after. So we like come home for the day, and then we can see what was happening during the sidebar. So Westmoreland is asking, I'm asking this out of abundance of caution. You might not have an objection, we talked about it yesterday, but you asked her about the financial contention of the lawsuit. I'm gonna ask her if she's aware of the $22 million demand. So this is what they were referencing earlier in the cross of like, this is the letter that your lawyer sent in demand. To which the prosecutors don't like this. She's already testified that she doesn't know there's a $22 million amount that is included, but I don't think that you've laid the foundation that she would have any reason to have knowledge of that amount, even though she said she never looked at that document. Westmoreland continues to argue, I don't think she needs to look at the document to have knowledge. I think she authorized them to file suit on her behalf. I want to ask if she's aware. If she's not, she could say no. Agnifilo makes a further comment.
Okay.
Your Honor, can I add one thing? I think the number is so large. It's just, it goes to her credibility when she says she doesn't know that a lawyer asked for $22 million on her behalf. Is different than She doesn't know that a lawyer asked for $100,000 on her behalf. One strains credibility, I think. The judge, though, fully disagrees, saying that's not true. I mean, if she doesn't know what demands have been made, she doesn't know. You can ask questions if you think that someone in her position would know what the number is.
Oops.
Then there are a number of questions you can ask to try and establish that she does or does not know. So you can do that, and let's take it from there and see if you get to a point where the witness says that she's been following and receives the updates from her lawyers and all the other stuff, and then you can take it from there and you can raise your objection there. So during the recross, Westmoreland starts with the point Dawn Richards requested, regardless of if it's for a friend or not, that she wanted to get the band back together. And she's just pointing out that means you're going to be spending a lot of time with Sean Combs, even though he threatened your life and you were deathly afraid of him. Like, you still want to spend time with him. And then she moves on to the lawsuit. And then you went and hired your own lawyers, right? Yes. And you filed your lawsuit. Yes. And you were hoping to be nicely compensated for that, correct? For justice.
Obviously.
And justice for you would be money.
Oh my
it
god.
would be to be made whole and also be paid for the time that I was
Like,
with
can you
Puff,
think
with
of a
Sean
different
Combs,
justice that
which
works?
means money. Yes. No further questions.
It's dismissed.
No.
You're not? No further questions.
So annoying.
And with that, the judge looks at Dawn Richard. Thank you very much, Ms. Richard. The government may call its next witness.
Wow. How long did the whole thing last? Like a full day, half a day?
I would say not even half a day.
Oh wow. But it was intense.
It was very intense. It was probably the most intense cross-examination. I did hear a lot of people, okay, so the press line and the public line are outside of the courthouse near each other. And I was listening to members of the public. I don't know why I'm always eavesdropping, okay? But I was listening to them, and they were talking about, they were anticipating that Dawn Richard is going to be testifying. And one of them, who the exact verbiage I believe they used was along the lines of, and they're going to come at Dawn Richard. And he was saying, you know, she's not pregnant like Cassie is. She didn't have this romantic relationship with Sean Combs like Cassie did. And she is a darker skinned black woman. Like, they're gonna come at her with everything they've got.
Wait, who said this? A
This
public?
was a black man that was in the public line.
Oh.
And so I
mean,
thought
he
that was
not
very
wrong.
interesting insight that I maybe
He
would
is
not have
definitely
come to that
not
conclusion before
wrong.
the testimony. And I don't know why, I just kept thinking about it during the entirety of the testimony. And then I don't know if I was thinking too much into it, because, you know, it's very easy to start going into conspiracies when you're sitting in that courtroom for 8 hours, because there's so much going on and then your mind starts running. But I was thinking about that, and then I was thinking about, it is interesting that Mark Agnifilo was originally supposed to do the cross, and then he didn't, so I thought maybe that had something. But it was very interesting that that was pointed out. I don't think that was insight that I would have had going in. But it did make sense once I was in there to some degree. So I guess the question is, what are your thoughts on that comment? Do you think that has anything to do with how the cross was handled? Because it was genuinely one of the more intense crosses.
Yeah.
Starting your own business is like embarking on an adventure where you suddenly need to become an expert in everything overnight. When my family and I started Grandpa Mingo's limited edition artwork, it was a lot. One day you're the marketing department, the next day you're trying to figure out inventory, and somehow you also expected to be a web designer, customer service representative, a shipping expert. Finding the right tool was the cornerstone for Grandpa Mingo Studio. It's truly the difference between drowning in tasks and thriving in your business. For millions of entrepreneurs just like me and you, that essential tool is Shopify. With world-class expertise built into every corner of the platform, Shopify handles everything that would otherwise keep you up at night. With hundreds of ready-to-use templates and intuitive AI tools, you can build beautiful online presence that perfectly captures your brand's personality and style. No coding or design degree required. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/rotten. Go to shopify.com/rotten. Shopify.com/rotten.
Perfect. Oops.
I did talk to Dawn Richard's attorney. I
Just
spoke
wait,
with her
just wait.
very
This'll look
briefly.
better in a
She was
sec.
actually sitting in front of us in the courtroom, but I was on a Zoom call with her, just asking her about, because I think it's just very interesting to see the human aspect of testifying. I mean, even when she went up there, she pointed at Sean Combs. it's a lot because Dawn Richard is a musical performer, so she is comfortable in front of a lot of people, but this is not her field. And what she said was that a lot of witnesses that do end up testifying, sometimes the feeling that they might walk away with is like, I wish I could have clarified something, or like I wish, like I feel a little bit misunderstood. And that's just kind of what happens when you get cross-examined as a witness.
I think a lot of
I feel like
people
it's kind of
feel
fucked though that that's
like,
the case.
I didn't really get to say what I wanted to say.
I feel like if that's
or
happening,
my
then maybe
words got
it's
taken out
a
of context.
sentiment
I
that
got-
there's a
I didn't
failure
get to
somewhere in that
explain, you know, I mean,
process.
cases I have representing victims of sexual
You know.
assault, my team and I, we spend a lot of time reaching out and trying to get people to be witnesses, to come in and testify. And I would say 99% of people don't want to do it. They want to stay as far away as possible from the courtroom.
No.
They're terrified. They have every excuse in the world. They say yes, and then they don't show up, right? It's just very, very difficult. So those who do show up, we have to understand how hard it is and how brave it is. And, you know, they're there. I mean, Dawn is just one of them.
So it must have been incredibly frustrating for Dawn Richard after that type of cross.
Yeah.
Where it, like, the speed of that cross was also crazy. Like, I don't think I would have been able to even think before answering. And it's like, there's some sort of expectation when the speed ramps up to keep up with the speed. So I can see how that was very daunting. And then as they were walking out of the courthouse, Dawn
Like, that
Richard
would piss
and
me
her
off.
attorney, Lisa Bloom, they were getting harassed.
Outside the courthouse, it's a bit of a circus. There's some very disturbed people out there.
So
screaming and
disrespectful
yelling at witnesses.
to the witnesses, I
unfortunately,
feel like.
just as they're walking from the courthouse to the car.
Okay,
and then
let's
there's
make this
kind of
look
the
good.
more normal journalists.
Yeah, how big is Diddy's dick?
Whoa.
I just the 10
Come on now, man. Monetization. You're going too far. Yeah,
I want to
man.
get my ass beat for 10 million. I want to get my ass beat for 10 million.
Bro.
Isn't it freedom of speech?
Alright, go fucking work for Diddy then, damn. It seems like he will beat your ass for
Yeah,
much less
I mean,
than
I
that.
imagine it was a very difficult experience, but there are lots of mixed netizen comments.
Okay, let's
with one
see, let's
reading,
make
Dawn
this look
Richard was
good.
complicit. She watched Combs violently abuse Cassie and a former assistant, but she continued working with him anyway. And for what? I can't name a single Dawn Richard song. But another one reads, she was terrified to tell what he did because she didn't want to go missing. What do you not get about that? There are points during the day where Sean Combs looks like he's about to fall asleep, which I do write in my notes. How much caffeine does he get? One would hope that he does not have access to other drugs and stimulants in prison or jail, but coffee-wise, how much does he get? I'm looking at the MDC commissary list because I know that the inmates only get coffee on the weekends with their breakfast. But on the commissary list, it lists Colombian coffee. You can only purchase 3 at a time. And then there's another one that says decaffeinated coffee. But then I go on Reddit, and a lot of people report that the coffee in these jails that they sell at the commissary have barely any caffeine. They don't want the inmates to be awake. They don't want them to be stimulated. And so I see him, he looks like, to me and to my researchers, he looks like he's kind of falling asleep at certain parts. Now for this next witness, at least in the beginning, Sean Combs appears to be very invested. Because it is Cassie's former best friend of 17 years, Carrie Morgan. Carrie Morgan was the one that was at Cassie's house when the Intercontinental Hotel incident happened. So when Cassie went home, Carrie Morgan was there. When Carrie Morgan walks in, Combs does stare and follow her with his eyes, which is intriguing because if you remember from Cassie's testimony, there was a text message admitted into evidence where Cassie says, it always goes back to, well, maybe Carrie would have been the better one to go after since I've witnessed more than once you realizing that she is way better fitting for you than I am.
Yeah.
So
weird.
Let's do that.
perhaps he was displaying interest at some point, invested in Carrie Morgan. But when those court doors open, she walks in, he's watching her walk all the way to the witness stand.
Another.
Prosecutor Foster walks up to the podium, they exchange good mornings, and she's clarifying statements.
Outline.
So they were best friends from 2001 to 2018, and now they don't speak. Their friendship ended in 2018, which is the same year that technically Cassie and Sean Combs also broke up for good. What if anything happened to you in 2018? Her boyfriend assaulted me. So Carrie explains, that her friendship with Cassie ended because Sean Combs assaulted her.
I mean,
Carrie
that's a
Morgan.
pretty valid reason to end
Now,
friendship.
Carrie explains that she was also subpoenaed to testify. She doesn't want to be here. She doesn't want to testify. Like, I wrote that in my notes. She literally does not want to be here.
What
I
did
feel
she
so
say?
bad for her.
Just
She didn't want to be here.
Every response is like, she just does not look. This is the last place she wants to be. She flew in, likely from LA, with her best friend who was sitting in front of us, and she just doesn't want to be here. I've moved on with my life and away from all these people and their problems. So Carrie
feel
met
bad
Cassie
for her.
at a photo shoot. Carrie was 16. Cassie
like
was
trying to
15.
fucking
They
move
hit
on
it
with
off.
her
They
life.
ended up living together in New York City at one point, doing the back-to-school circuit.
And they
That's
make
how
her
she
get
describes it.
grilled
So they
for
would do
this
the Target
shit.
ads, JCPenney ads, like back to school with a backpack with the little notebooks.
Oh.
They would do that circuit every single year, and she does mention later that Cassie was doing really well as a model. She was making, this is before the Me and You song came out. She was making like some years $250,000 a year. Cassie starts dating Sean Combs. She describes Cassie as, I mean, very confident, worked really hard, very
Okay.
successful as a
And now the
model.
fun part.
And then she starts dating Combs, and the three of them start hanging out more. Prior to it, they didn't really drink or do drugs, but with, I guess, the lifestyle, they start drinking a little bit more. Maybe it's age, maybe it's the lifestyle, maybe it's Sean Combs. They do drugs with Sean. And when you first got to know him, what did you think of him? I thought he was very nice, extremely generous, also sort of intimidating and a strong presence. And as you got to know him more, how did those views change? You see that he had mood swings. Sometimes he would get aggressive, or he'd just be upset instead of always having fun. What would he do when he was aggressive or upset? What would he do? Sometimes he would just yell at Cassie, or you could feel like he was mad. Carrie's explaining that after they start dating, Cassie lost her confidence big time. She lost her spark. She was not like the same Cassie. Carrie says even her body, she was always very slumped, kind of just bad posture. She just became like this. And she's hunching over, showing the jury. And the jury, a lot of them are heads down, like taking notes on all of this. The key points that Carrie Morgan testifies during her direct testimony is when Combs can't get in contact with Cassie, sometimes he would call Carrie. Some days he'd call Carrie 50 times. Some days he'd call her a few times. It really depends. Sometimes he'd send over an employee or have an employee call Carrie.
50 times is actually scary.
Yeah, 50 times.
I
is
know,
like
it's already 1 o'clock.
She
It's
said 50
crazy.
times?
Yeah.
That's actually
Oh,
scary.
thank you so
Like, alarming,
much.
She said 50
Appreciate
times in a
that.
row.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
She did
If you
notice
want,
over the
if
years
you
that
want
Cassie was
more of my
building frustration
content,
because she's constantly working on this music,
have
but
more
she's
other
getting frustrated
places.
that it never gets put out. What types of things did you see him do to her? Hit her? Pull her hair? I've seen him kick her, push her. She said on one of those occasions there was a bodyguard around, and she told the bodyguard, do something, because they can both clearly see that Cassie is getting pushed and kicked. And Ruben, the bodyguard, she claims he's not doing anything. And that particular assault on Cassie got so bad, the bodyguard Ruben does nothing. It gets to the point where Cassie and Carrie end up escaping out of the house away from Sean Combs, hiding on the steps of a neighbor's house, like laying flat on the stairs because their house was on an incline so that they couldn't be seen. And they said that they were laying face down on the concrete stairs for 20 to 30 minutes while they could hear Combs and the bodyguards just driving back and forth looking for them. Carrie says, I didn't know what
So
to do,
scary.
so I just wanted to stay there until everyone calmed down. Another event, Carrie says, happened while they were on vacation. She just hears screaming. Can you talk through the chain of events? What, if anything, happened before the screams happened? Cassie had gone to the bathroom, and then after a few minutes, Sean said she's taking too long. So he left me, and I was just in the bar by myself, and then a few minutes later, I heard her screaming. And how would you describe her scream? Like guttural, like terrifying. What did you do? So I heard her screaming. I went to the hallway. The hallway was extremely long, and they were coming out of the master bedroom, and he was dragging her by the hair on the floor. And how far did you see him drag her by the hair? I probably saw like 10 feet. And then I ran back to get my purse so that we had credit cards and a phone and stuff. And when I came back, they were outside. So I didn't actually see him drag her all the way down the hall. Carrie says that she ran and got her bag just in case they needed to run away, and she wanted to have money and a phone. I saw him push her on the ground, and she hit her head on the brick.
Dude,
And
I
how
feel
did you
so
see
bad
Miss
for them.
Ventura react after she hit her head on the brick? She didn't move. She fell on her side, so she was like in a loose fetal position, I would say. Were her eyes closed or open? Closed. Carrie says she thinks that Cassie knocked out because she didn't move for like 20 or 30 seconds. Sean and I were yelling at each other, and while we were arguing, she got up and ran into like a wooded area, barefoot. What did you do? I jumped into a golf cart there was 2 golf carts in the driveway, in the circle driveway. I got in one, Sean went in the other one. We went different ways looking for her. Carrie ends up finding her. She came running out of the woods. She got in my car. I turned the lights off. We drove. I don't remember where we parked the golf cart, but we ended up hiding in a ditch. Again, they could hear Sean and his friend trying to find them, so they're hiding in what feels like hours in this ditch, and Cassie is crouched down.
It's literally like a horror
movie. A really
movie.
big bump on her forehead. During this testimony, it's interesting how much Combs'
Literally a horror movie. It's
from
crazy.
the press. Like, he would cock his head to the left, listen with his hand over his notepad, and then once he hears something that he thinks is of interest, he'll start jotting it down. Like, that's one thing all of us, the RM researchers, are writing down, is like, sometimes he genuinely looks like a member of the press found a way to sneak up there. The way he takes notes, the way he cocks his head to listen to certain testimonies, and then starts jotting down notes, which I know that doesn't mean anything, but it's just, I'm trying to paint the picture, I guess.
Yeah.
Because even the way that the other attorneys jot notes, I wouldn't necessarily say they look like a member of the press jotting down notes. Sometimes they look more serious, sometimes they look a lot more casual. During those times you saw violence, did you ever see fighting back? Eventually, yeah. Can you describe what you saw from her? I don't remember, but I know she started fighting back. So throughout this trial, prior to this, we just had the Intercontinental Hotel footage, right? Then during the trial, we find out that there was a male escort in the hotel room during the day that this all happened. This was during a freak-off. Then we find out that when Cassie gets home from the Intercontinental Hotel, Carrie Morgan is there. So she walks in through the apartment door, quote, she had her hoodie completely covering her face, and she kind of slumped down. She dropped her bags, and she didn't say anything. She was just standing there. When she pulled her hoodie back, she had a black eye. Then 30 minutes later, Sean Combs comes to the door, and they know this because he starts hitting the door with a hammer trying to bust it open. How did you know this, Mr. Combs? He was yelling. I could hear him. There was a peephole that we could see through. She even says that she sees the actual hammer that he's trying to burst through the door
Do
with.
one more.
Meanwhile, Cassie is just fully numb. That's how Carrie describes her after the Intercontinental Hotel incident. She was just sitting on the couch. She wasn't doing anything. I was freaking out. And she was just she didn't care if he came in and killed her. She was just
No, that wasn't good.
I think other parts of Carrie's testimony that some jurors looked locked in. Other jurors, they looked kind of bored, like they were falling asleep. But at this part, it felt like all of them were taking notes. Carrie doesn't really remember who, but somebody called the police. And the only thing is, they asked Cassie for her ID, and she wouldn't give it to them.
Okay.
She wouldn't tell them her name, and eventually they left. She says the whole relationship was very toxic. I wanted her to do what she wanted to do, but sometimes I would tell her that she could leave. Cassie would tell Carrie, no, I can't, because my job, my car, my apartment, he controls everything. She would lose her entire livelihood. Not only that, Carrie mentions that she was the only friend really in Cassie's life at the time. All of her other friends were all employees of Sean Combs. And the thing that she noticed is every time Cassie talks to them, she's more adamant than before that she's going to stick it out, if you will. She didn't want to leave after spending time with associates of Mr. Combs. She would see some people that you could tell that they were convincing her that it's okay. But the incident that ruins their nearly 2-decade friendship
So
is
sad
Carrie
that their
and
friendship
Cassie
gets
are in
ruined over
Cassie's house in
this.
the Hollywood Hills. They're listening to music. This is in 2018. Cassie is using the restroom when Sean just comes into the house. Carrie says, I guess he had a key, and she didn't know. So she was in the bathroom, she saw him come in, and she locked herself in the bathroom. And I was in the living room, and he came up behind me and choked me. And then when I got away, he boomeranged a wooden hanger on my head.
What?
How did he choke
what the
you?
hell?
I'm not sure, but I had finger marks on my neck, so. What type of hanger did he hit you with? A wooden coat hanger. And what part of your body did the hanger hit you?
Bro, what is
Behind
his
my
problem?
right ear. Without telling me Mr. Combs' specific words, what did he express concerns about when he hit you? Who Cassie was cheating on him with? At the time, did you know what he was talking about? I have no idea. Carrie is trying to flee the apartment. She ends up seeing Combs' old assistant, Ryan, and she's telling him he's going crazy, like he's lost it. Ryan doesn't really do anything, just kind of shrugs. Carrie walks away, concussed from the wooden hanger. She's dizzy, throwing up. She has to go to urgent care. And this is the point where she's just over it. She gets an attorney. She plans on filing a lawsuit, but she doesn't. Instead, she meets up with Cassie at a pizza place in West Hollywood. Cassie offers her $30,000 to sign an NDA and not file a lawsuit.
All right.
What did
there we
Cassie
go.
say when she told you about the money? She told me that she thought I was milking it, that I was over-exaggerating, and
A gem
blah, blah,
is
blah.
going to be her favorite
But she
gift.
signs the NDA without even really reading it. There's no lawyers present. She gets the $30,000. This is the last time she's ever spoken to Cassie. This is where the friendship completely ends. She hasn't spoken to Combs since the wooden hanger projectile was flung at her head. Now, one very interesting thing to note is that during Carrie Morgan's entire direct, I keep writing in my notes, she does not want to be here. And I think even the way she answers, yes, she's answering the questions, but she's not, I don't think she even wants to be. I don't think she should be. But she's just very, this is what happened. I'm ready to leave. That's the tone that everything was.
There we go.
But when Mark Agnifilo takes the cross-examination for the defense, the best way our team could describe it collectively is he is incredible at disarming the witness. He's so good at building trust and rapport, not even just with the witness, but with the jurors too. He will make strategic jokes. At least in hindsight, they feel strategic. You grew up in Buffalo, you said? Yes. Came to New York for the vastly
one's favorite
improved
gift,
weather,
right? Yeah.
and all the New Yorker jurors are laughing because it's been so cold and windy, and the weather has been honestly heinous going to the courthouse. All the jurors are smiling, and they can clearly relate. He also hates using the microphone. Agnifilo, I've noticed, and I've always wondered if he is literally just an old teddy bear dad, or if this is strategic, because it comes off more approachable and just oh, clueless me, where's the microphone? Mark Agnifilo is so good
They
at
are
disarming
good.
Carrie.
They're
She starts
sleeping right
opening
now.
up. She's
All the
way more
babies are
receptive to his
sleeping.
questions. She seems way more engaged than she was during her direct. During
Really?
her direct, yeah, she answered just enough to show, hey, I answered your questions. During the cross, she's giving out more information.
Really?
Yeah, and another side note is Westmoreland and Agnifilo are great at addressing the members of the jury. The prosecutors, I feel like they do say things like, could you explain to the jurors?
Oh my
Could
God.
you explain to the jury? But they kind of act like the jurors don't exist.
Procreate.
Is the vibe.
Come on.
I'm
can
sure if
do
I pour
this.
through the transcripts all over again, just specifically searching for the parts that they address the jury, I will find it. But it's done in a way that feels so minimal or non-existent. But Mark Agnifilo, even though for the witness, he acknowledges Carrie Morgan was subpoenaed. You don't want to be here. He tells her that he's going to do his best so that she can get out of here. With the jury, he's always like, wait, I'm confused. Also, maybe the jurors are confused. So could you explain it for us? It's very he doesn't say those exact words, but he doesn't make it seem like invisible force field.
Yeah.
They're just watching the press and the public.
He knows exactly what he's here to do. Which
Yeah.
is convince the jurors.
Yeah, even Nicole Westmoreland is ladies and gentlemen of the jury, could you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury? So it feels very like a three-way conversation almost. Instead of I'm invisible and you're just acting like I'm not here type of
Yeah.
feeling. Carrie mentions in the cross-examination that Cassie was probably jealous of Kim Porter. She was jealous because she could never go to the New Year's Eve parties. Also, a bunch of
Thank you, I'm
celebrities get
glad you
name dropped in the
let me know. This is a
cross-examination.
good
In
one.
one giant group picture, Keke Palmer is in the picture, so her name comes up. But again, there's no sinister context, just she happens to be in this massive group picture with a dozen other people. Mark is trying to prove that Combs had helped set Cassie up with other artists for collaborations that were much larger than her, aka trying to help her career. He casually just throws out in the middle of the cross, I think you said Lil Wayne. Carrie Morgan is like, I didn't say that. You didn't? No. Sorry. Do you know if that's true? That she worked with Lil Wayne? Yeah. Not that I can't. That's fine. That's fine. Do you remember any other artists that Miss Ventura did work with? And at that moment, I was like, I feel like he did that on purpose because nobody heard Lil Wayne unless he's looking at the meeting notes from Carrie Morgan and the government. But then he would have pulled it up.
Those were
I
all
don't know.
separate.
It was just so bizarre.
No, I can see it. I can see him just
Taking a
Lil
shot.
Wayne. Yeah.
All of those are
Eminem,
separate
just
actions of what is
throwing
happening.
names out there to.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's fine. That's fine. Do you remember any other artists that Miss Ventura did work with? Yeah, French Montana, Fabulous, Too Short. I'm sure I'm missing a bunch, but she did a mixtape that had a features on every song. But probably the biggest part of the cross was that Carrie Morgan says when the hanger incident happens, Sean Combs was wondering who Cassie was cheating with. And she said, I have no idea who she was cheating with at that time. But it turns out she was cheating on him with somebody? Yes. Okay,
Oh my
and
God,
at
who
that
cares?
time, at that moment, you didn't know who it was. I had no idea she was cheating on him. So it's kind of unclear whether or not Cassie was cheating or
who
not.
cares if
not
she was
that
cheating?
it would in any way absolve anyone the guilt of giving a
I
friend
don't
a
get why they're
concussion,
bringing that up.
But it's unclear. It just, in the cross, it made it seem like perhaps she was cheating, which I don't know. It did kind of feel like an aha moment when she said that.
Wait, so Wasn't
Like,
Diddy
why?
always had
Yeah.
multiple girlfriends?
I guess the picture that the defense are trying to paint is it was like a two-way toxic relationship.
Oh. Okay.
Now, the cross ends, and the redirect, the main focus of the prosecutor, is that Combs was violent, and he was not just violent when he was jealous and accused Cassie of cheating, like the defense is trying to make it appear, but he was violent for all things. They asked Carrie why Combs was attacking Cassie during the vacation, and she said that she was taking too long in the bathroom.
Oops.
One very interesting moment, Mark Agnifilo tells Carrie Morgan that she has to speak or say yes or no into the mic rather than shake her head, because the court reporter is only taking down spoken word. Do me a favor, if you don't say yes, he will hit me. Talking about the court
Ta-da.
reporter that's sitting right in front of her. I just thought it was an interesting choice of words. I don't know if it's strategic.
And that one's the
could
watch
be,
normally.
could be not.
Okay.
Even when he asks
And then
about the
favorite
FDA signing and the
date.
$30,000 exchanged at the pizza place for the wooden
I'll just
coat hanger
leave that
incident,
'cause I need to
Mark
figure this out
asks
later.
if there were any lawyers present, and he comments, because she says no, he comments,
Oh my
which
God,
is
we
probably
did
why
it.
the exchange got done. Withdrawn.
All right, well,
So
that
he's,
took a lot longer than I was
making
expecting.
fun at attorneys and making
That
fun
took us the
at
entire thing to
situation
finish.
Of like, come on, guys, you can't be
It
doing
always
these
takes
things
longer
without
than I
attorneys.
want.
Everyone was giggling.
But hey, we finished it.
The press were giggling, the public was giggling, the jurors are giggling. It was very interesting. And at the start of the case, which feels like 3
Yay.
years ago, but this was
Alright.
basically like a week ago, right? Michael B. Jordan was all over the news because he was listed on the People and Places list for jury selection. It was
Time
said
to
that
make
Cassie
another
and Michael
one.
B. Jordan dated briefly, which was confirmed by Cassie and now by Carrie Morgan. Carrie admits that Combs was
Another
jealous
one
of
for
Michael
him.
B. Jordan because while Cassie was in South Africa to shoot a movie, she was not dating Sean Combs. She was in the midst of talking to Michael B. Jordan. Now, in terms of the relationship, Carrie said she didn't really ever meet him or know anything about him, but she just knew that Sean Combs was jealous of him. Now, this is where it gets strange. We go from Michael B. Jordan, because he's brought up in this testimony, and then I go home, I go online after court, and everyone's like, Steve Harvey. And I'm like, what's happening? Everyone on the internet are making, quote, Steve Harvey and the diddler jokes. That's not me making the joke.
Okay,
That's
there
the
we go.
internet making that joke. The public timeline of what we kind of know, and we've briefly went over this in our 4-part series. There were sources in 2018 that stated and suggested, rather,
Just get
that
this
Lori Harvey
started.
and Justin Combs' second son with Misa Hilton, were dating. The next year, in 2019, Lori Harvey was linked romantically with Sean Combs, Justin Combs' dad. They were photographed vacationing in Italy with Steve Harvey and Marjorie Harvey, Steve's wife. Their relationship seems a little bit more confirmed but unconfirmed. Like, they seemed like, there's pictures of her kind of with her arm around him. It seems like they had some sort of close friendship or relationship. Lori Harvey has come out to categorically deny the allegations, stating that she never dated son and father. So it seems like perhaps maybe she only dated Sean Combs and not Justin Combs. But the next year in 2020, she starts dating Michael B. Jordan in a very public relationship that is confirmed by both of them. That's how people connect all of this. Now, some people are stating that Sean Combs dated Lori Harvey to get revenge on Michael B. Jordan for dating Cassie. But the timeline doesn't add up because Lori Harvey started dating Michael B. Jordan after she was pictured with Sean Combs. Others say that the vacation to Italy between Combs and Lori
There.
was not for Combs and Lori. It was for Combs and Steve Harvey because they were secretly dating. Which I tried to find some actual substance to that. It's just a bunch of internet
Yeah.
rumors so far, as well as a lot of
Also,
AI
who the fuck
generated
would ever want to date
content.
Steve Harvey?
However, Steve Harvey does make what I think a normal person would consider, rightfully consider, an
Yes.
alarming amount of baby oil jokes.
Yes.
With
This
one
is the
segment on his
lore.
show,
This is
someone
the
asks
lore.
him for tips.
We're making character
This cute
sheets
little
right now.
middle-aged lady asks, my
Stream
husband
is
and I
ending
watched the show.
soon,
He often
but-
takes your advice, and well, recently, I was in the room laying down. He came in there and he squirted cold baby oil on my back. It was very cold. It was ice cold, and whatever mood I wasn't in it anymore, and neither was he. So, Steve, you give good romantic tips. Can you share some techniques? Steve says, player came in here with that cold ass baby oil. Listen to me. I talk about baby oil all the time because it's a specialty. You got to be a baby oil professional. You need to microwave this baby oil before you come in there.
Like,
now, most
what the
people
fuck
don't have
is he
a
talking
microwave in their
about?
bedroom. I've installed one because I need hot baby oil at handy. Now, you don't want to put no microwave in your bedroom? Here's a couple of low budget ways to accomplish it. Run a sink full of hot water and just lay the bottle of baby oil in there for about 15 minutes. Turn it, let it heat up like
sir,
that.
that's fucking
Oh my
weird,
god, don't ever not
actually.
include baby oil in your love life. You are missing one of the greatest inventions. Baby oil ain't really for babies, it's for your damn baby. In another episode, he's going over someone's vacation packing list where he says he's reading
It's
it. 3
so
bottles of baby oil.
weird.
Whoa, my all-time favorite. Got to have that baby oil, baby.
My all-time favorite, baby. 3 bottles of baby oil.
Wait, when was this? Is this before the whole
Like,
Diddy
what the
baby
fuck?
oil thing?
Yeah.
Oh, this is before the
Yeah.
the baby oil
Yeah.
Diddy situation came up.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
he's just been like a baby oil lover,
I see.
which
I
a
see.
lot of people
Like,
are.
what the
A
fuck?
lot of people use it. It's not unheard of. It's pretty common. From
No,
what I can
it's
see
unheard
for
of.
intimate situations.
Never
but I
heard
guess
of
you
it.
don't really hear.
Yeah, not like 50 bottles. Like,
Yeah, and you don't really hear people like talk about it on TV with such enthusiasm of like
yeah.
greatest invention. In another segment, he's
It's
giving
so
advice to a pastor and his wife who have been married for 32 years. I'm just gonna keep it real with you. Y'all have been having bowling night and pizza night, and like that, just throw baby oil in there, pastor. It ain't nothing simple about throwing some baby oil in there. I'm telling you, baby oil, it just goes with everything. You can get baby oil on pizza. I done got it on pizza. Before you taste it, you can't even hardly taste it.
What the fuck?
I had baby oil all around my mouth before. I
Genuinely,
don't even know
what
what's
the fuck
on
are you
there.
doing
I'm
right
just
now?
a baby oil type of night. It's just baby oil. Praise the Lord, baby oil.
Praise the Lord, baby oil.
No.
Yeah. So that's why Steve Harvey's Instagram comments are now filled with baby oil comments and memes. But there doesn't seem to
Like,
be
what the
an
fuck are
actual
you
direct
talking
link. But back to the cross-examination with Carrie Morgan. Mark Agnifilo moves to admit
so
Defense
weird.
Exhibit 1620, which is a text message from Carrie Morgan to Sean Combs, and it's a poem, which the prosecutors object. But Mark argues the reason that the poem can be admitted into evidence is, quote, "I've never known a poem offered for its truth." He's basically saying no one's going to think that this poem is definitive truth, so that's why it should be
So
admitted.
what?
It is admitted, and the poem
So why
reads,
tell it?
condensed. Deep at the center of my being, there's
Makes
an
no
infinite
sense.
well of love. I now allow this love to flow to the surface. It fills my heart, my consciousness. The more love I use and give, the more I have to give. The supply is endless.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a self-love poem, and Mark is just pointing out that Carrie sent it to Sean. So he's telling the jurors that Sean and Cassie had friends all around them from both sides that wanted them to work out. Unrelated to the case,
Okay.
well, semi, but there's this really sad moment where Mark Agnifilo asks, "For 17 years you guys were best friends and you haven't spoken to her since?" No. I'm trying to understand this. At the sake of being Captain Obvious, it's May 2025. You have not spoken to Cassie in what, almost 7 years? Yes. In that period of time, she left Sean Combs 6.5 years ago. The reason I stopped speaking to her was because she was not supportive of me after that incident. It all comes back to what you said on Direct. Tell me if I'm right, where she said that you were overreacting about that wooden hanger. Yes. And that ended the 17-year-old friendships, from what I understand. I draw my line at physical abuse. She also has not reached out to me.
That's a
I
very
don't
fair
know
line.
why she doesn't reach out to me. So I'm sure she doesn't have the same phone number anymore also. And there's this other part where she's asked about if a text message was sent around Cassie's birthday. And she's like, yes. And she lists Cassie's birthday. Like, she still remembers Cassie's birthday to this day. It's just kind of sad. It feels
Like, yeah, they
very
were best
strange.
friends.
It's like
I
a
feel
very
bad for her.
weird feeling. And then when she walks off the stand, she goes to the friend that she came with that's sitting right in front of us. As she's walking down the aisle, she just smiles happily at her friend and says, "Let's go." And they just walk out the courtroom together. And that is the testimony of Don Richard,
Oh, dang, that's
Carrie
way closer than
Morgan,
I thought
and
it
the
was
new
gonna be.
lawsuit filed against Sean Combs. Coming next, we're going to be going
There we
through
go.
Kid Cudi's testimony. I've been trying to save that one because Capricorn Clark is testifying, and she's heavily involved with the Kid Cudi situation of the blowing up the car, the breaking into the house. So I thought it might
Which is
be
crazy.
cleaner cut to combine those, as well as potential witness tampering, new hiring of attorneys that has been happening. Also, where is Gina has been a question that has been more or less spoken out in court by attorneys. So that's going to be a whole different, I mean,
Who's
I'm trying
Gina?
to move some of these testimonies around because the government, they call witnesses based on schedules, and then sometimes it's like there will be an HSI agent that's testifying, and then all of a sudden it's someone that's a friend, and it just feels, it would just be like, and then it doesn't, like, it's not coherently coming together. So I'm trying to group them in a way where it's like, here's what the government is trying to prove. These are the witnesses, these are the crosses. So all of that will be coming up, as well as the eye drops that have drugs in them. That's a whole thing. So stay tuned, and I will
Okay.
see you in the next one.
Well, we're almost there. Thank you, Queen. Thank you. We have a lot more We have a lot more videos from her to watch. Making progress, getting this little guy a profile here. But I think that's where we'll leave it for today, because we gotta swap over to Teddy's stream. Okay, so I am gonna swap screens here. Okay, so Teddy's stream will be at 2 o'clock. It'll go until 4:30. I might make it go until 4, just so I have a little extra time to prepare for stream that's happening afterwards. But Teddy is gonna plan some stuff. I think I'm just gonna throw a skirt on and do like the most basic makeup for my Twitch stream. So yeah, it's gonna be like a only somewhat promoted. I'm very tired today, so we're doing minimal effort. But yeah. So I will be over on Teddy's account. I will link you. Actually, let me set up the stream right now so that I can just like get that out of the way. And then I don't have to think about it. That'll make my life easier. So we'll probably, I'm trying to think. Probably just work more on her stuff. Yeah, we're gonna work on her chibi model, like her updating her chibi model. So that's what we'll work on. Okay, there we go. Perfect. And then it's at 2 o'clock. Okay, awesome. Her stream is now queued up. If it will go. There we go. Give me link. Alright, link to Teddy's stream. That will be in 30 minutes. All right, let me post it to her Twitter as well. Throw a Teddy photo in there just so there's something. This one. Ironically using the old design to promote the stream. Okay. Anyway, Teddy's stream is up. Let me retweet that on my account just so you guys can find it easily. Cool. Okay. All right. I will see you guys in 30 minutes on Teddy's stream, chat. Yay. And then otherwise, if you want to hang out with me more, I will be on Twitch at 5:30 as well as secret stream on Fans Leave. Not so secret stream, but shh. Secret from Twitch, alright? Don't snitch. I'll ban you, alright? Goodbye! Enjoy the outro. I'll see you soon. Mwah.
you.